guys. Welcome to episode number 2 of the Long Island Diamond. I'm here with Andrew and Vinny, especially Vinny, a newly engaged man.
Thank you.
Big congrats to our guy.
Very big congratulations.
Yes, much.
You want to tell us about the lucky lady for a little bit?
Yeah, sure. We were together for about 16 months or so. About 16 months, and we've been talking about it for a while. So I finally asked her because she's the love of my life, and I think it's about time. So I couldn't be happier, and thank you guys for all the love. Thank you very much for the support and everything. It really does mean a lot to me. This means so much to me. You have no idea, and it brings joy to my heart knowing that I'm going to be a married man very soon to the only person that I could ever see myself being married to. It's just, I'm a champion right now.
Big time. Unlike the New York
Thank you
Mets.
guys. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, we actually got a lot of interesting things to talk about. Thursday, I don't know if anybody has heard, they're actually going to start CBA negotiations from being out of the lockout. The number one thing that I've been hearing coming out of the negotiations have been the universal DH, whether to have it or not have it. Honestly, I don't see why either team doesn't get either side doesn't say yes to a universal DH. The players, they'll gain from it, and the teams, it helps them out. It's one less bad defensive player that they have to have on the field, one less bad bat that they have to have in the offense. It just works out.
If you're an offensive player, it gives you one more opportunity to get into the lineup. If you're a solid defensive player, but there's just not a spot for you in the lineup, or the other way around, if you're a good hitter, but there's just no spot for you in the field because you're just a utility guy who kind of bounces around, you can finally get a spot in the lineup. Somebody else would move to DH if you're a more defensive guy, or the other way around. If you're not good defensively, you can finally get put in the lineup. And like I said, as someone who primarily watches American League Baseball, I do like pitchers hitting, but if I was someone who watched National League Baseball more religiously and cared about the outcome of being a fan of a National League team, I would probably despise and get sick of it after a while. So I understand why it's about time to get the universal DH, even though as someone who watches mostly American League Baseball, I like watching it every so often I do, but as a baseball fan, it's probably much better for the sport.
Yeah, definitely. Well, much more exciting too. Much more exciting. I do feel bad for those pitchers that want to hit.
That's the only downside. So
I love pitchers who rake. Always brings a smile to my face.
So it's the pitchers that want to hit, obviously it'll kind of suck, but they can still get pinch hit opportunities every now and then. It's not like a no-end deal, but yeah, again, you don't have to worry about that one spot in the lineup now gone. Now, I would say this, if you are a National League pitcher, you probably are on the fence because you don't got to worry about getting injured while hitting, but your job becomes a lot more tougher because they say American League to National League, the ERA differential is about 0.5 because that's one guy who's a guaranteed out every time. So if you have 2 outs and runners on and it's within the first 5 innings, you're most likely getting that out. Or it's just someone you don't have to worry about getting on base in the middle of an inning. So if you're a National League pitcher, yes, you don't got to worry about getting injured while hitting. You don't got to worry about looking like a fool out there. But your job on the mound gets a lot more tougher because you have to now face 9 hitters no matter what. There's never I can breathe a bit with some runners on base or after maybe a 12-pitch at bat. So if you're a National League pitcher, I don't know. That's probably the number one thing why you would vote against it, because if you're a representative of the Players Association and you're representing National League pitchers, you like pitchers hitting because your job is much, much easier compared to an American League pitcher.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're definitely right.
Yeah, would you rather face Giancarlo Stanton, try to get him out, or would you rather face Max Scherzer, wouldn't have a single hit as a pitcher all year and try to get him out? That's what you're saying. Yeah, you're always yeah, to me, it just makes baseball much more exciting because I watch National League baseball 99% of the time, obviously, and there's always a pitcher that comes up, and I'm like, hey, this would be really cool if you got a hit and drove in a run. But most of the time, it doesn't happen, and the pitcher stands there with the shoulder on his bat and he strikes out on 3 pitches. And it just gets really like it does bum me out. I would love to see. I can't even imagine having a DH on the Mets. It's just so much fun to me because so many guys come to mind on who would be the designated hitter, and I just can't wait to see how it plays out. Another thing, also, if you have a weak bat in the lineup already, who is a great defensive player, it also gives them a little more wiggle room, if you ask me, because if you're not doing your job from both sides and you're only doing your job defensively, you could hit ninth and get by with a 700 OPS, 210 batting average, and be the Gold Glove All-Star shortstop without worrying about not really performing too much offensively because you have the designated hitter in there instead. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's another good point because, like, say you're a catcher who's a primarily defensive catcher and you have the pitcher, you now have a 7-man lineup or a 7.5-man lineup.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I didn't think of. Yeah, like just having that extra bat, it creates a full lineup and it gives you more dynamics if you have someone who's a primarily defensive player.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, for all you guys that were on our Instagram account throughout the week, I was posting a bunch of stuff on the story. You guys all got involved, giving us topic ideas and voting to see who was better or who deserved, for example, the MLB The Show cover more. And I took the 2 MVPs from the National League and 2 MVPs from the American League, and I just, threw them in for people to vote to see who should be the MLB The Show cover. I don't know about you guys. I choose Ohtani, like, out of all of them. Ohtani deserves it. For someone that did what he did, where he was able to pitch and hit, he was able to do both things. He wasn't even good he was good on the bases. He was, he's good defensively, but he mainly played DH when he did hit. But what he did this season was phenomenal. And it looked like what he did in 2018, just like on steroids.
Yeah, I definitely think he should be on the cover. You can get a very creative, really interesting dynamic if you can show like him, like with his arm moving as well as with the bat, like 2 separate like pictures on the one design cover. That's something we've never had before. It's always one picture of one player, but I think it can be a very cool animation having him on there twice, showing both sides of what he does. So I definitely think after what he did this season, he deserves that honor.
He's Mr. Baseball right now, not Mr. MLB, right? Not Mr. American League. He's Mr. Baseball. I'm talking world-renowned, international superstar right now, Mr. Baseball.
He's won an MVP in 2 countries.
Epic, dude. It just doesn't make sense.
2 different leagues, 2 different countries.
Yeah.
Well, what I was thinking was, it's obviously called MLB The Show. They're not going to be putting that W on the cover. They're just going to keep it show. They're just going to keep it show.
Wow. I didn't think of that.
I like that. Yeah.
It's going to be MLB The Show, but no W at the end. And then maybe they'll have it like Show E, like for it. But like, I don't think that they'll have the W at the end if he is the cover. And what I was thinking was for like, not the like picture on the case or the game, the intro, like every single MLB The Show has like this intro before the game. It was Fernando Tatis for 21. He was doing, like he was hitting moonshots. He was fielding, he was doing really good routine plays, like stuff like that. He was doing all that stuff. I think what they're going to do with him is they're going to start it out with him pitching, and then it's going to be a video of him hitting.
Yeah.
And he's going to like hit the ball, and then maybe like they'll have him in the outfield making the catch.
He throws it, and then they quick cut to
bases.
him swinging, and then hits it.
Yep.
Yeah, that big dude. Yeah, I mean, right
Yeah.
now it's really cool. Right now, for somebody like us, it's like all you hear about is Otani, all you hear about. But then, like honestly, to be honest with you, there's a baseball game called MLB Power Pros, and it's for the week, right? And to this day, I still play that game. It's perfect. The video game is perfect. Has no flaws. I love it. I still play it to this day. It's the only video game, one of the only video games I play regularly. And it's fun to look back on these guys. It's fun to look back on stats from that year, 2008. So they use like 2007 stats, for the game, 2008. It's just fun. It's fun to look back. So for somebody like me, a baseball fan, who I look at myself, or people who were my age when that game came out, and they want to play something like this, MLB The Show, for this year, say another 14 years down the line, it's going to be great to see what Otani is doing nowadays. If, say, he's not still doing it in 14 years, or if, say, whatever happens, you don't know what's going to happen in 4 or 5 years in the MLB, let alone 14. So I'm not saying he's not going to be around, but I'm saying we just don't know. So it would be great to just look back and see this was history being made. And it's just super awesome. The amount of things that they can do. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't even play video games that often.
Yeah. Well, something that always like intrigues me is the fact that the Angels were able to pull this off. They were able to keep him as the two-way player that he wanted to be and who he was. That's how he was in Japan. He was a two-way player. The reason why he didn't go straight to the MLB is because each team that was asking for him didn't want him to be a two-way player. He asked when I think he graduated high school and he was first eligible to go into the majors or go to the minor leagues for a major league team. He got calls from the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Mariners, the Angels, the Dodgers, and I think the Cubs. He got calls from all of them. And every single one of them said, if you come here, you're developing as either a pitcher or a hitter. No both. Now, he proved it in Japan. He comes here. Angels pull it off. They didn't pull it off right away. They did in 2018, and it was good enough to get him the Rookie of the Year. But in 19 and 20, he was dealing with injuries, either kept him off the field pitching-wise or not able to hit, whatever it was. But everything came together in 2021, and he was able to pitch, and he pitched very well. It wasn't like, he pitched. He pitched at a very good level. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but his splitter, probably the best pitch in baseball. It gets the most whiff percentage. People hit it at an insanely low level. It gets the most outs when there's 2 strikes. It doesn't leave the yard. And I think he's only given up a couple of runs when he's throwing that pitch.
Yeah.
This dude's splitter is the best pitch in baseball. I used to say the best pitch in baseball may have either been Chris Sale's slider or Seth Lugo's curveball.
I think it was Clayton Kershaw's curveball during the middle of this
Kershaw's
decade.
curveball too was crazy too. But now it's Otani's splitter.
The splitter it's a pitch that it was very popular in the 70s and 80s, and then it faded out. And now a lot of the Japanese players are bringing it back. Like Tanaka's splitter back when he first came up, it was he kind of revised it and really was one of the first pitchers in this generation to really bring it back and excel with it. And now Otani's taking it to the next level because you don't really hear about splitter a lot anymore.
Nope. It's the same thing with a knuckleball. No one throws a knuckleball anymore. Or even this one. I only can name one player that throws
a lot of knuckle curves now. A lot of pitchers have a knuckle curve, but not a true knuckleball.
Yeah. Well, I don't count knuckle curve as a true knuckleball.
Yeah, it's not a true knuckleball. No.
Yeah, I don't count it. I count knuckle curve as its own pitch. It's a type of curveball.
Yeah.
It's not a type of knuckleball. There's only one knuckleball.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
That's it. And there's only one player that I can even think of that throws a screwball.
Who throws a screwball?
Devin Williams.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he has a screwball. That's the only guy that I even know that throws a screwball in the majors.
Yeah, I wouldn't have came up with that off the top of my head.
I only know that because of MLB The Show.
No. What about Joey Lucchese's
Joey Lucchese's churve.
curve? Yeah.
His churve ball. That's such a bad pitch.
What is that? A change-up curveball?
Yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Well, he's the only.
I've heard-
He created it. He created it.
Okay.
So I don't know what the story is behind it, but apparently it's thrown with a change-up grip, but it's like a curveball. I don't know what I don't know how it works. I don't really pay attention to Joey Lucchese because he's not good. He's just not good. He wasn't good with the Padres. He's not good with the Mets.
I don't know, man. Give him time. Give him
That's
time.
what
He was loosening up. He was loosening up.
I liked him with the Padres. He had like one good year.
He was loosening up a little bit.
I had him on fantasy one year. Yeah.
He was getting comfortable, and he started pitching decently. Started actually pitching.
What was it, out of the bullpen?
Not quality, but almost quality starts. No.
No, it was in the rotation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not quality, but almost quality starts. And then he had a couple of really good outings, and then he went down. So I don't know. I don't know just yet. I wouldn't talk too fast. I'll let him. I don't even know if we're going to see him in 2022. He's not expected to come back. He's expected to return somewhere between 2022 and 2023. I wouldn't bet on 2022.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot he got injured. That's right.
He went down hard. I think he had Tommy John, right?
Mm-hmm. He
Yeah.
had like a UCL not a sprain. He had like a tear, like a UCL tear, something like that. Yep.
It's injury.
He
Yeah.
probably won't come back for the 2022 season then.
Highly doubt it. No.
I wouldn't think that he's coming back for it. Well, since we're on the topic of pitchers and the Mets, I'd like to we can do this. This will be our first ever debate. So I put up on the Instagram a poll: who was better, CC Sabathia as a Yankee, Pedro Martinez as a Red Sox, or Jacob Degrom's career? Because obviously Jacob Degrom has been a career Met. And a lot of people voted. I think that was I think a tie with the most votes that we got in a poll. And Jacob Degrom won by 2. CC Sabathia got 2, Degrom got 6, and Pedro got 4. Okay? So that's how the voting went. I honestly don't know who I choose. I didn't really look into the stats. But off the top of my head, you kind of think that Pedro Martinez's career, career as a Red Sox, may have been just a tad better. Just because when you think of Pedro Martinez, you don't think of like this like somewhat good pitcher. You think of him as one of the best pitchers going through the steroid era. He pitched when steroids were being promoted in the MLB. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Jacob Degrom. I love Degrom. Actually, I'm not exactly sure, but my girlfriend might be getting that for me for my birthday, a Degrom jersey. I'm not sure. But Degrom didn't pitch with people juiced up on steroids. Pedro did. So, I don't know. Andrew, who do you think is better?
When I think of Pedro Martinez, I think of Jorge Posada's double in the 2003 ALCS.
Or what about when he was throwing Zimmer on the floor?
That too. Are we sure he's not on steroids? I mean, that was kind of a roid rage moment, and I believe he never took steroids. It was just one colossal hothead moment.
And Pedro, I don't know if you've ever heard his side of the story, which I'm not saying I believe.
It did look like Don Zimmer came after him, but he didn't have to throw him down.
No, that's what I do believe. I think Pedro did take it to a different level by throwing him to the floor. When I look back at the video, do I think it's hilarious? Yes, I do. I think it's freaking hilarious. But you know what? At the same time, it doesn't matter what I think. So watching that video, it's hilarious. But at the same time, it's like, Pedro, come on. Like, now, I think it was just, that was him as just like a baseball player. Now looking back at it, he kind of always says he regretted throwing him to the ground. He said it was the heat of the moment. And, obviously you could say that, but people aren't going to forgive you for doing that. Was it justified? No. Am I mad at him for doing it? No, I don't care. But honestly, if Garrett Cole right now threw freaking Alex Cora to the ground, I'd probably think it's funny. To be fully honest, when
Alex Cora is like 40 something though.
I'm just saying. It's funny.
It's a different story.
Okay, well, you take anybody, okay, that is the same age as Zimmer, okay?
Yeah.
And you have Garrett Cole, the ace of the staff, okay? Throw him to the ground. I will think it's funny. I still will. So it's not, I don't like the Yankees. I'm very biased against the Yankees, but this is not my bias getting out there. I really like it when people get thrown to the ground, fall, trip, whatever it is. It's hilarious. That's one thing that I'll always laugh at. So it doesn't really matter. So we'll get into it. So Pedro and Degrom. Andrew, who do you think is better? Degrom's career so far or Pedro Martinez as a Red Sox? Not his career, but as a Red Sox.
I mean, I feel like every time I watch Degrom or every time I see the night before what he did, it's just it's a little different because we're seeing it happen live, so the bias is towards that. And it's like I never really saw Pedro Martinez play. Like obviously, like I was alive, but I was like a child. So it was like I never really saw it. And even when I look back on highlights, I'm watching the Yankee side of it, so I'm watching him get like mammoth every time. So, like, again, that bias would be there too, but I think I got to go with DeGrom just because year after year in ERA under 2 in this hyper home run era. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, yes, Pedro pitched in the steroid era for pitchers and hitters, but I think I got to go with DeGrom just because year after year, there's just something about him. He is like on top of every single pitcher, every single year, best in ERA, strikeouts guys, despite having a lesser amount of innings too. So I just think I got to go with DeGrom.
All right, Vinny.
I think if you look at the amount of games that they've pitched right around the same amount of games from when Martinez as a Red Sox, DeGrom is a Met. They pitched right around the same amount of games.
Actually, yeah, you're pretty.
Yeah.
Hold on, I want to see.
Yeah.
Pedro was with the Red Sox for 7 years. Mets and DeGrom has pitched for 8 years.
Yeah,
but that also includes 2014 and 2020, which were both like half seasons. But their ERAs 2.50 to 2.51, almost exactly the same.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yes. Yeah,
that's a great. It's a great way that you put them side by side, and it makes a lot of sense. So it's a very, very interesting topic to bring up because they have DeGrom as a Met and Pedro as a Red Sox, but honestly, if you want to look at stats and everything, advanced stats and all that.
No, I'm not really getting into the advanced stats. I'm just going off of Baseball Reference. So, and listen, I'm not a huge proponent on win-to-loss record, but when you do look at the difference of win-to-loss record, it's kind of like you have to include it.
Other than a couple seasons, the Mets have been shit. And I'm not even saying that as like an anti-Mets guy. I'm saying that as a pro DeGrom guy. And so DeGrom has a winning record on a Mets team that's maybe had 2 winning seasons and in the playoffs like twice versus Pedro, who was competing with the Yankees for the AL East year after year. If they weren't division winners, they were the wild card winners.
Yeah.
They went deep into the playoffs almost every year. So it's a different team. The Red Sox were behind Pedro. The Mets were never behind DeGrom.
Yeah, the Red Sox have been a powerhouse team this entire century. Since the start of the century, at least.
Mm.
And that's just what I pay attention to for the most part, is this century's baseball. I'm sure we can all agree.
He was the Red Sox since 98. So Pedro pitched
90, yeah.
Pedro, I have all the stats in front of me. I don't know if you guys pulled it up, but Pedro has been a Yankee. Wow, let's never say that again. Pedro Martinez was a Red Sox from 98 to 04. So
now, I want to include this. So I don't know if you look at this or at all, but Pedro was already a top-tier pitcher when he went to the Red Sox. So he had his up and down years with the Dodgers and Montreal before he became an elite guy and then went to the Red Sox. DeGrom developed as a Met, so he never really had a bad year, but he had his developing years with the Mets before he became that elite guy.
The last year that the only year that he was bad, and it's not even that bad. Like for a pitcher, wants to be good. This is a good year for them. But this is like a
2017 was a mediocre year, but it was a good year, but a bad year for DeGrom.
Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. DeGrom has had his whole career to have a bad year, and he kind of hasn't. But Pedro already had his growing pains done before he went. So I just want to, I obviously that's not part of the question, but I think it's just a relevant reason just to be like, DeGrom should get that tiny bit of an edge for that reason.
Okay. So we'll look at this right now. Okay. We'll start going based on, I'm just gonna skim through and I'm gonna say Pedro's stat line. Okay. And Vinny, do you have the stats in front of you, or Andrew?
Yeah,
I got it. All
right. So
you let Vinny do DeGrom.
Yeah, I'll let Vinny do DeGrom because that's his boy. So I'll just lock my phone for right now.
You know what's actually funny? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Pedro started at the Red Sox when DeGrom started at the Mets at the same age. They both pitched from about age 26 to 32. You exclude this past year.
Yeah.
DeGrom barely pitched a couple of games. The same exact age. Same thing. They're both in their prime. And honestly, Pedro's career, I know you're talking about Pedro as a Red Sox, but like you were saying, Andrew, Pedro started when he was a kid. Right? He wasn't even
that's what I'm saying. DeGrom started his career later in years.
Yeah.
But
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Those are also things to keep in mind. But go ahead. Man. Let's do this.
Okay. So just give me 1 second. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna try and do something real quick. You could still say DeGrom's stuff, but just so that everybody could see, I'm just gonna share my screen, and I'm gonna have both of their stats like next to each other, just so that people can actually like see it. All right.
And if DeGrom was healthy all of 2021, this may be a whole different conversation.
Oh yeah.
Because with the road that he was on, there is just no telling what he was going to do. If you watched him, like I watched him every game, almost every game I watched. Watching this guy pitch was just like clockwork, over and over again, routine stuff, dude. And it was just unreal. It's such a pleasure to watch him pitch. Every time he pitched, it was something new every time, but the same thing. And that's why it was such a pleasure.
You know what's an interesting
game started 198 to 201, so it's exactly the same pretty much.
Yeah.
Something that I noticed that's very, very interesting about Pedro Martinez, I think maybe it's just like my biasy towards the American League and the Red Sox. I always think of Pedro as a American League pitcher, but he's pitched 4 more years in the National League than the American League.
Yeah.
That's because he bounced around, yeah. But
And
his
his
prime was with his 7
prime
years with the Red Sox.
was
Yeah, he
obviously
only
New York.
pitched 7 years in the
Yeah.
American League, and all of them were with the Red Sox.
Yeah.
The most he's pitched was as a Red Sox. So
Well, it's just everyone's bias. I mean, if I think of Carlos Delgado, I'm going to be like, oh, that's the Carlos Delgado, New York Mets legend. But Carlos Delgado is probably on the Mount Rushmore of the Toronto Blue Jays.
mm,
No one. It's only Met fans think Carlos Delgado. Oh, New York Mets legend.
Same thing with Carlos Beltran. Like, I think of him as an Astro, a Yankee, a Met,
Yeah,
the Cardinal.
great career before he even came to.
Yeah.
Me. And great
But
career
Met fans think of him as a Mets guy, yeah.
after the Mets too.
and a
Yeah,
lot of Met fans don't even want to think of him as a Met guy because of that check swing. But you know what?
Yeah.
I wasn't even bringing that up to be funny. I'm bringing that up just because it's kind of sad. Like Carlos Beltran, the career that he had as a Met
yeah,
is unbelievable. Arguably one of the best outfielders you guys may have had. And
I loved him. He was my favorite player.
the fact it's kind of the same thing with the Red Sox. Like the ball through Buckner's legs defined his career.
Yeah,
And that's very upsetting because Buckner was a great player. And then you have Carlos Beltran, who was also great, but that check swing is what's really like holding him. Which
yeah.
is
It's
just
so wrong, dude.
it's
So wrong.
insane. It's insane.
Well,
Anyway.
that's how baseball fans are. I mean, Luis Castillo. Andrew loves him. Most Mets fans hate him because he dropped one pop up. He was a great. He won.
He dropped the ball.
Yeah. How many consecutive Gold Gloves did he win? He's a World Series champion. He was a great Marlin, one of the best gloves the Marlins have ever had. You know, really. But we all think of, and especially the trauma of having that game against the Yankees. A ball that A-Rod hit.
Yeah.
That's just like rubbing salt in the wounds, and it's very, very painful for Met fans. So we remember Luis Castillo as a very infamous player. It's the same as Beltran. I don't know. I never judge him based off of one strikeout. That's just so wrong. You know, you could put the stats on the same page next to each other. You compare the players.
Yeah, that's what he's got. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
No,
what
I
I'm
mean
doing right now.
on one page.
On one page? No, you can't. Can you?
Yeah, scroll down.
Oh,
you gotta.
oh, I didn't know that this had it. Oh, that's pretty cool.
I'll be at work sometimes with nothing to do, just playing around with baseball reference. Looking at guys.
But I think this shows their career. This shows their career.
Yeah.
No, you
No.
could
Go. I would.
You
For
could
now, I would. What?
go show criteria. Group of seasons.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
2003.
All right. Yeah. I got it. Okay.
So yeah, like 9. Yeah.
2003, what? 1998, 2004, I think.
Yeah, 98 to.
Yeah, and Degrom's just his whole career. So you're Degrom career. Yep.
And then oh. All right. Well.
Yeah,
that
that's
makes
it.
things a
Yep.
lot
Yeah,
easier.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
makes things a lot easier.
Beautiful.
Wow, I didn't even know you could do that. You can look at value too. Win probability. Wow, this is pretty cool. Really didn't know you could do this.
Dope.
All right, well, let's start off.
At the top. Yep.
Yeah, at the very top. So standard. All right, so standard from 14 to 21, Jacob Degrom, and 1998 to '04, Pedro Martinez. They're 26, 30 to 33 season, and
Yeah,
then
same age. Yeah,
Pedro is, yeah, it's pretty much the same, just one less.
Unbelievable.
yeah.
How similar these things are. Really, the same
Yeah.
amount of games.
When you first came up with this idea, did you know like these numbers were like that similar?
Nope. No.
Yeah.
I swear on my life, this is what I said to myself. I was like, let me think of a really good Met pitcher, a really good Yankee pitcher, and a really good Red Sox pitcher. And whenever I think of a Red Sox pitcher, instantly comes to mind is Pedro Martinez.
has to be. Yeah.
I do think of Clemens too, but Pedro is so much more liked than Clemens is that
Yeah.
I'd rather pick Martinez. Especially, I love Martinez more than I like Clemens. I don't love Clemens. I like Clemens, but I love Pedro. So there's, that's why I chose Pedro, and then for CC, then I chose CC Sabathia, just because I kind of really didn't think of someone like right away, and CC kind of came straight to my mind. And then Degrom, he's going to go down as one of the best
Yeah.
pitchers. So I just chose him. I could have chosen Ryan or Seaver or who.
No, either way though, it makes sense to think about guys like relevant to the same era. Like outside of Garrett Cole, CC Sabathia is probably the best Yankees pitcher of the 21st century, and then Pedro is the best Red Sox pitcher of the 21st century, and then same thing with Degrom with the Mets. So I would say it makes sense to do CC, Degrom, and Pedro.
Well, that's exactly why.
Honestly, I think of Wakefield. I don't know why. Probably because he was a very long tendered Red Sox. He had
Yeah, but Pedro Martinez, he's so much more better. So
obviously. I mean, Wakefield didn't even have good career numbers, but of course Martinez. But Wakefield's always the first one that comes to my mind for some reason.
all right, well, we can start looking at this now. We can like dissect everything. So obviously, we already discussed some of this. His win to loss record. It's gonna go to Pedro. So, but you did like say, obviously DeGrom is pitching for a Mets team that made the playoffs twice.
That in baseball is different now. So I think, because back in the late 90s, early 2000s, pitchers on average went over 6 innings. The best pitchers went 7 innings to 8 every start.
Mhm.
Now the best pitchers go 6. Unless you have a really low pitch count on a random day, you might go 7, but pitchers aren't averaging 5 innings anymore. So I think if you're looking at it, where is it? So DeGrom 1261 to 1383. 1261 is a lot more workload for today's era than 1383 was for that era.
Yeah. Well,
and then for that reason, the fact that you pitch less innings, forget how good or bad your team is. Pedro's bullpen was great. The Mets bullpen sucks. So DeGrom gets taken out of games with the win, and then his bullpen blows his win. Pedro's wins were never blown.
That's happened multiple times for DeGrom. I don't know if you guys knew about this stat, but before 2020, if Jacob DeGrom's, and not only is his bullpen blowing it for him, but his offense doesn't score for him.
Yeah.
It's weird. They take like a day off when Jacob DeGrom pitches, but like all other guys, they'll start hitting for him for whatever reason, and they still don't make the playoffs.
No, I think it's just more. It has more of an exclamation point when DeGrom pitches. Because when he's pitching shutouts, 7 innings shutouts, 7 innings, 1 run. And getting the loss. That's different from a guy going 7 innings, giving up 3 or 4 runs, and then the Mets score 1 and lose anyways. So it's obviously it means more for DeGrom considering he's the best pitcher in baseball today and possibly of the last decade. But going 7 innings and giving up 1 run and throwing 100 pitches with 12 strikeouts at least, and getting a
Yeah.
loss is absolutely repulsive for fans, for probably the Mets manager, for the whole team. Obviously, like it's literally disgusting. Almost anyone 2 decades ago who threw 110 pitches, pitched 7 innings, and gave up 1 run and gets a loss, almost unheard of. Because guys didn't strike out like they do nowadays too.
Yeah, that's another.
And so this is another thing to think about.
Yeah.
Think about how much goes into wins and loss to actually get the win. So you have to come out of the game with the win. Your bullpen has to keep the win, and your team has to score enough for you to come out of the game with the win. So not even just that, though. Degrom, a lot of times, he'll come out of the game in the 7th inning with no runs on the board, but a runner on second with 2 outs. And then his bullpen, whoever replaces him, gives up that run. So these are all runs going against Degrom over and over again. And so if he comes out of a game in a tie, and then whoever relieves him gives up a run that's on base for him, even though there was 2 outs, now he gets the loss from a run that he didn't even give up when he left. So these are all wins and losses that are very in favor of Pedro. Because, again, if Pedro came out of the game, odds are his team kept whatever runs on the board that he gave up. His bullpen got out of it. They kept the game going from whenever he left, because it was probably only an inning or 2 more. Versus Degrom, it's 2 or 3 innings more. And not because of Degrom, it's just a different game now.
Yep.
So there's so much that goes into wins and loss than just he came out of the game with the win and his team kept it.
I want to talk about something that Vinny just brought up about how a lot more people strike out now than they did back then. If you look at the strikeout numbers, Pedro has a little less than 200 more strikeouts than Degrom has in a part of baseball where striking out is seen as a normal thing. If you take the words of Pete Rose, he does not recognize the sport that is being played right now. Because if you went into a game with the mentality, I'm going to hit a home run, but if I strike out, nothing happened, the coaches would bombard you with what you did. People strike out sometimes 4, if you are lucky to get 5 plate appearances, sometimes 5 times a game. You strike out 5 times a game in the early 1900s all the way up until 2000. You strike out 5 times a game, your career is over. They won't even let you bat for the next 3 weeks. And the fact that Pedro is making people look silly more times than Degrom is in an era where striking out is seen as okay, that's another thing to look at. It's the same thing with win-to-loss record. Win-to-loss record doesn't mean squat right now. It doesn't mean squat. But right now, at the same time, like, yeah, striking out is nice. You continue to punch out people. You continue to put backward Ks on the, on the count. Like, all of that stuff, that's great and all. But are you going to put that player that you struck out in like a bad mood walking back to the plate? Like, yeah, if he strikes out on a bad strike 3 call by the umpire, he'll be in a bad mood, but not because of the pitcher, because of the umpire.
Yeah.
If you strike out someone, 20 years ago, you look silly. People are laughing at you for what you just did. You don't strike out in baseball 20 years ago. And, he has literally a little less than 200 strikeouts in an era where striking out was not seen as good. His his Ks per 9 is also better. Not by much, only 0.2, but it's still better. His, the strikeout numbers are there. They're better. Pedro Martinez is...
Another thing to mention,
yeah.
Again, American League versus National League. So Pedro, again, if someone's watching it on YouTube, they can see what we're looking at, but people that are going to listen on Spotify or whatever, they're not going to be able. So we should probably say it out a bit more. But so strikeouts per 9, Pedro in his 7 years with the Red Sox was 10.9. So rounded up to 11. Jacob Degrom 10.7, almost rounds up to 11. So relatively the same thing, but Jacob Degrom almost has a free strikeout every 9 hitters he faces. Pedro didn't. So, yeah, Pedro was a more dominant power strikeout pitcher in an era where strikeouts are much less, in a league where strikeouts are much less.
Yeah. And I think we all agree that, they're the 3 outcome guys. We already mentioned this. There's the hit a home run, walk, or strikeout type of guy. And that is, the legit prime example of this is Joey Gallo. Joey Gallo is a true 3 outcome type of guy.
Adam Dunn. Let's talk about Adam Dunn, James.
He was like the first 3 outcome guy.
Adam Dunn was that too.
Adam Dunn kind of revolutionized the 3 strikeout, the 3 outcome.
Yeah.
Listen, I think Adam Dunn is probably one of the most interesting players in history, man. This guy was the only player in history, as of, I don't know if this is up to date, but it's relatively up to date to the point where I could say it on here and not look stupid. But he is the only player in baseball history to have the 3 outcomes over 50% of his plate appearances. Does that make sense, what I said? So he walk, strikeout, or home run over 50% of the time. He's also statistically a god-awful defensive player when he was in the field.
But you know what? That's the difference between him and Joey Gallo. Joey Gallo is very good in the field.
He'll throw guys out at the plate.
Joey Gallo has an arm. He has a cannon.
Yeah.
And his glove was always underrated as a Ranger until his very last year as a Ranger. And then that's when people really took note of how good he really is with the glove. So that's the difference between him and Adam Dunn. But what I was getting to with the 3 true outcomes, I think we all can agree that no matter what, whether there's a strikeout or not, a strikeout still results in something not good happening.
Yeah.
So that helps with your whip. So if Pedro Martinez isn't putting anybody on base, that's gonna bring your whip down even more. Something to look at. Jacob deGrom's whip is slightly above 1. Pedro Martinez's whip is below 1. His whip is .978. DeGrom's is 1.011. Not much of a difference, but there is that difference of the whip, So now DeGrom is in a era of baseball where the 3 true outcomes is something that a lot of people don't, disagree with. They don't think that it's such a bad thing, Analytically, it's something that is really pushed, in baseball. But if you look at the 3 true outcomes and what DeGrom's versing right now, if he's not striking out the people, he has a better, or the offense that he's versing has a better chance of scoring, in my opinion. If you're not striking out people, that's one less thing that is getting taken off the board of how to get him out. And I'm not saying Jacob deGrom isn't striking people out, because he still does. Jacob deGrom puts up 10 Ks so much. Literally so much. And it's just Pedro Martinez was doing it more in a era where there was no 3 true outcomes. There was only the 1 outcome that you wanted, and that wasn't even to put a ball over the fence. I'd say the steroid era really helped that, push home run mentality. But
think about how hard it is to hit home runs in Fenway Park.
It depends. It definitely does depend, because if you have a lefty and they hit the pesky pole, that's under 300 feet. Yeah,
but the angle you have to hit it at is very. It's not many people are able to hit it on that angle. You have to hit like a foul ball and have it go in the right direction.
No,
But I'm saying, generally speaking, though, like Citi Field is quote unquote like bigger, but it's a regular shaped field. Like its corners are deeper. But with Fenway, it is the weirdest left, center, and right field in baseball. Its left field is short but extremely high.
Yep.
Its center field is a triangle, very deep.
Yeah.
And its right field is very thin and cut narrow at a corner. So it's the hardest outfield to play in because whether you're a left center or right fielder, it is the hardest of any of the three outfield positions to play. Now it's like that because it was built over 100 years ago, so they weren't really thinking as much about dynamics as they were now.
I could tell you exactly the story because I went to a tour of Fenway, and they explained this. The original owner of the Red Sox, when Fenway was being built, he did not care about the team. He didn't care about the team. He didn't care about what the stadium looked like as long as the stadium got built. He cared about the city of Boston. He didn't care about the team, but he cared about the city. So he did not want to have any construction done where any of the city had to be damaged. Okay? So he took a field and, if there were any parts of it that were a little higher, he'd, shave it down. But what he did was he made the field even. And then after he made the field even, he decided, let me shape the walls around the streets that are already built. So then he put the walls literally right up against the streets so that there's a sidewalk and then the stadium and then there's a street. And he just built it around that way. So that's why the dimensions are a little weird. And they had to make seating. They had to put seats in there and everything. So to fit everybody in there was such a challenge, and that's where he wanted to put it. He wanted to put Fenway right in between those streets. That's why it's built like that.
I like how every park has something kind of unique about it. You know what I mean? Like every park has different dimensions, and there's just something unique about every single park. Every single city that you play in, there's something special about every little park. The Orioles are going to change their dimensions now. They announced earlier today that they want to change the dimensions to prevent home runs from being hit.
Yeah, in left field.
I think that's kind of cool. I think they want to prevent home runs from being hit. But my question to them is, are they doing it to try to boost their win probability? Because their team's gonna be playing it 50% of the season, and the visitors are going to be playing it only when they're playing them.
If the Orioles are worried about winning in the short term, they should focus on the team rather than the stadium.
Absolutely.
I don't think they're changing the stadium to worry about winning in the short term.
The product that they put on the field is laughable.
It doesn't matter what the field is.
Yeah. It's just laughable. So
that's a really, really good point. That's funny. Dude, I'm actually like, what I was thinking about today, I don't mean to drag you off topic. I will get back on topic. I just wanted to mention
Yeah.
There was something, I know you guys all saw it on Instagram, like the last time that each team made the playoffs in the NFL. You guys both seen that?
The Jets were the only ones that haven't made it since 11 or 10.
But it's funny because it's funny that 14 teams in the playoffs in the 32 is to me is asinine. How many teams? 32 teams in the NFL.
Yeah, but I mean NHL 16
out of 32.
31.
31.
Asinine.
Well, you have the Golden Knights now.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Asinine.
Yeah.
So NHL is 16 out of 31. So it is 32 now. Okay, yeah, 32 now. Yeah.
Asinine. And to me, that's too much because that doesn't tell you the best of the best are supposed to make the playoffs. The playoffs are for the best of the best. 50% of your league is not the best of the best.
I mean, 5 years ago it was 16 out of 30. So
to me, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. So I mean, it depends on the type of sport though. So I mean, baseball is 10, but it's not like so. I mean, you have the 6 division winners and then the 2 wild card winners of each league. So then it goes from 10 to 8, 4, 2, and then you're champion. NHL has the most standard playoff format: 16 teams, 16, 8, 4, 2, and you have a bracket. Now the NFL, because you're not much of a football fan, so I mean, they pretty much have.
Football. I know a lot about it, but
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
So the NBA now, they have a weird format. Like they have 20 playoff teams now out of 30. But logistically it's really 14 because they have the 4 play-in teams who each play one game. So then it goes back to 8. So it was 16, now it's 20, but it goes back to 16 after the play-in round. So it goes 20, 16, then you have your bracket from there. So I think the NBA now is a little bit ridiculous, and the play-in round is good, but I think they should have decreased the playoff teams, then put it back to 16, then made it to whatever the new number would be, instead of just adding more and more. Because I do think 10 out of 16 teams to make the playoffs in each conference a little ridiculous. But I think the way football does it is very good, though. Again, this is not a baseball. This is a baseball podcast, but I think the way every league does their playoffs is a little bit different. But I like the uniqueness of each one. NHL is the most standard, and then you have the NBA, who's just a free for all. And then baseball is the most hard to get in. But think about it, though. Baseball is 162 games. So the reason why football should have more playoff teams is because the amount of teams that make it or miss it by half a game or one game is a lot more than baseball. In baseball, if you miss the playoffs, it's probably by about 3 to 4 games.
That's an excellent point, at least. Yeah. And
plus, if you look at the very bottom part of the division where they're out by 56.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you did see that, apparently that had me very confused. If you look at the last 3 years, the majority of the NFL made the playoffs. With the
Since 2015, every team except the Jets have made the playoffs at least once.
Yep. And that's sad seeing that the Lions have made it.
Yeah, dude, the Jaguars, I was looking up the Jaguars roster. They had like Blake Bortles and Chad Henne doing as quarterback when they made the playoffs, and apparently they won 2 games in the playoffs, and I was absolutely mind blown. I feel like I wasn't even around in 2017. Did I disappear for every sports season ever? Because to me, I don't remember the Jaguars ever being a winning team. Maybe it's just me.
Surprisingly, they were at one point.
Anyways, the fact that the majority, I'm talking 80 to 90% of the NFL made the playoffs in the past 3 to 4 years, specifically. And if you want to go back to 2015, every team except one has made the playoffs. But realistically, right, in the past 3 years, the majority of the NFL made the playoffs. Think about how different that is for baseball.
Well, you got to put in more factors also. Again, football is only 17 games. So if you have a lucky stretch of 5 games, you can make the playoffs because that's the difference of going 10-7 or like 6-11. So that's one factor. Another factor is in baseball, to develop your guys overall is a 5-year plan. You have to draft multiple guys year to year and have them all be good year to year. Versus the NFL, the worst teams can draft the best college players and immediately get 50% better. So it's a much different. In football, everybody's ready to go right off the bat. In the MLB, it's a lot more of a transition to get your guys from where they are to where you want them to be. And then in baseball, you can also be a terrible player for 6-7 years, but slowly make it going back and forth. In football, if you're a shit player your first 2 seasons, your career's done. You don't get another shot.
That is very well said. You're absolutely right. And to me, I would be much more interested. I'm super interested in baseball. I die for the sport. But so it's stupid for me to say I'd be much more interested in baseball, but it's just not true. I'm equally interested either way. But to me, it would be so much more exciting to see these teams who just completely fell apart, completely sold out, and completely threw everything away to actually be competitors up to the last couple of weeks of baseball. Like we were just talking about the Orioles, what they need to do to actually become a decent team.
Yeah, put a product on the field. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
about their dimensions of the field. It's just teams, they need to put product on the field in order to be good. And
Yeah.
especially in baseball, you can't have just a good quarterback and some good offensive players to be good. You need to have your whole team pretty much clicking in order to be good. You saw it with the Atlanta Braves this season. In the beginning of the season, they were a third place, sometimes fourth place team. And they were not clicking. They made some trades. They got people to click. And as soon as they all started clicking, boom, they became World Series contenders. And then boom, they made the World Series. And then boom, they won the World Series. These are the differences in sports. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that baseball is harder, but I do believe baseball is harder. So
I took a sports economics class this past semester, and this is what I learned. The MLB has no revenue sharing system. Whatever revenue the Yankees make from selling tickets, selling jerseys, selling whatever is what they get. And same thing with the Tampa Bay Rays. Obviously, the Yankees are making much more revenue like that.
yeah,
The NFL has a revenue sharing system. So if the Cowboys sell out and the Jets don't, or whatever it is, you share 60% of the revenue. So the Cowboys, who make by far the most revenue year to year, they only keep 40% of what they make from tickets. The other 60% they give to the league, who distributes it among the other teams. The
Yeah.
MLB has nothing like that. Every team keeps whatever revenue they get.
That's odd.
So it's much easier for NFL teams to put a product on the field because the revenue sharing system makes it's I'm not going to say socialist versus capitalist, but that's kind of what it is.
Well,
And here's the thing. I'm not saying that's how I want the world to be, but in a 32 team league, it works, quote unquote.
It's just it's weird because like also in the NFL, what don't they have a salary cap? Like what's their salary cap? You only could spend up
Well,
to
that's
a
the thing.
certain amount. In
The NBA, I don't know what they do exactly with that, but they have a salary floor and a salary cap. So every team has to be in between a range. That's why it's much more competitive. Obviously,
Yeah.
outside of when you have, obviously, like outside of that like when, the stretch of when I was in middle school, high school, when it was Warriors, Cavs. But the NFL has a strict salary cap that you can't go over.
Yeah.
And
I think that's one of the things that is being discussed in the negotiations for the CBA. I don't think that they want to, make a salary cap in the MLB. I'm pretty sure that they don't want to do that. They want to keep it how it is, like the tax threshold. If you go over this, you have to spend a certain amount.
They already have that though. They already have the luxury tax.
Oh yeah,
And if you're over the salary quote unquote cap every year, your luxury tax gets incrementally more.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of even how much you're over it is, but if you're over it 3 years straight, then your luxury tax like doubles. That's why you see teams like Yankees and Dodgers, they'll go over it year after year, and then they'll have 1 year where they go under, so that way they can restart it.
Yeah, I think what it is, they want to, in the negotiations, I was overhearing this. I think they want to add a salary floor so that teams can't tank.
I would like that. Yeah.
They don't want the Indians to put $40 million into a team. Mike Trout, between his salary as a player and the money that he gets in
bonuses,
sponsorships, stuff like that, was making more money than the entire Indians team combined. That's insane to think about. One player is making more than an entire team combined. And that's not just going for the team that is in the 40-man roster. I'm talking about everybody in that like that plays for that team in the minor leagues, the major leagues, in all forms of the minor leagues, including the major leagues. Their total balance was less than Mike Trout's entire salary for one of the years. And that's, to me, a little bit of an issue because you want this. You want your team to be competitive. You want your league to be competitive. So I don't get why they would do this. But, that's what they do. I think in the negotiations they will stick to just having the threshold, and maybe in the next negotiations, or maybe they have a deal coming up if if people aren't being, like thoughtful of the product that they're putting on the field, then maybe that's when they start adding like, this like salary floor like the NBA has. I don't know what it is because I don't watch basketball, but it's a note worth looking into. So
I wonder if like a lot of the smaller market teams also want a more NFL style revenue sharing system.
yeah, I wouldn't.
I haven't heard about that being a thing.
Yeah.
I doubt it would be a thing in the MLB, but I wouldn't be surprised if like the Rays and the Marlins and the Indians are asking for that.
And the Athletics.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's an issue because the Athletics are looked at as a small market team, but the Athletics owner is among the 5 richest owners in the MLB, and he's top 15 in sports. So for them to be looked at as a small market team is not their fault.
Well, I mean,
it's the owner's fault.
The owner can have that revenue from, I mean, again, he should spend more money on the team because he would make more money the more he spends. But at the same time, it's looking at how much the team makes now, and it's really not much. So, I mean, I don't know that much about the Athletics owner, but I'd imagine he probably has a successful, like, financial firm outside of baseball, and that's where he gets his actual net worth from.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think the bigger issue is that he's threatening to move out of Oakland if Oakland doesn't buy him a stadium. But Oakland is one of the cities most in debt in the United States.
They actually financially can't buy him a stadium. They can't build him a stadium. Even if they tear down Oakland Coliseum, which they won't, even if they do tear that down, the money that they would get to, do something with it, like, they literally would not be able to. So I say very soon that the Athletics will be following the Raiders into Las Vegas.
Oakland has lost 3 teams in the past decade.
Yeah, and
the Warriors went from Oakland to San Francisco. Yeah.
The Athletics are getting ready to leave. They're getting ready to pack up ship, and they're going to because they're not going to be able to get a new stadium. So the Athletics, what I think that they should do is they should go to Vegas, and this was always my personal opinion. I've always liked this name for a sports team for Vegas, but no teams ever went to Vegas except for now the Vegas Golden Knights and the Vegas Raiders. But the Raiders didn't change their name, and the Golden Knights were just an expansion team. The Golden Knights could have done this, but they just decided not to. But I think this is a really good name for a MLB team. They could be the Las Vegas or just the Vegas, whatever you want to be. But I think it would be better if they say Las Vegas. They could be the Las Vegas Gamblers.
So generic. I don't want to see another name change.
I don't think they want to promote gambling.
I don't think it's promoting gambling. You're going to the city of gambling. That's just my personal opinion. If you think it's generic, what about the Mets name? That's probably one of the most generic names in baseball.
Not really generic.
Very generic.
The
Metropolitans, and then they just shorten it down to the Mets.
That's not very generic.
That's a little generic.
But how so? I don't understand.
It's not as generic as the Washington football team.
That too. That's the most. You know what? That is the most generic name in sports.
Yeah.
Or the freaking Indians probably going to be the Cleveland baseball team for a split.
No,
second.
the Guardians.
Yeah, they're the Guardians, but they for a second were actually thinking about doing what the football team was doing.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to Degrom. We got very off topic.
Yeah. You and your gambles.
I forgot where we left off. I think we were talking about strikeouts and then the whip and everything.
Yeah, and then you started talking about the Las Vegas Gamblers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not even that, though. Like, we should go down this list. So it's like, I mean, ERA, Jacob Degrom 2.50 to Pedro Martinez 2.52. Game started 198 to 201. Now, complete games, obviously, it's going to be much different era.
And
Jacob Degrom 4, Pedro Martinez 22 shutouts 2-8. And then when you get more to the other side of it, like ERA plus 157 to 190.
And ERA plus, what a great thing ERA plus is, because ERA plus is something that even outs playing fields throughout any part of baseball history. That's
true.
It's like OPS plus. Those are two of my favorite stats, because ERA plus, it will even out anything, and I mean anything in baseball. So he has a ERA plus of, what is that?
190.
Yeah, that's 33. That's 33 plus Degroms. Now listen, 156 ERA
almost
plus,
double league average.
157 ERA plus is not bad. That is really
It's incredible.
It's really good.
Yeah.
But Pedro Martinez had literally almost what Andrew said, double the amount, is insane. And if you look directly to the right of it, a 245 FIP against DeGrom's 2.64 FIP, that's another thing that's pretty cool. That means that if you take out I'm pretty sure fielding independent pitching, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, fielding independent pitching just means yourself doing the work, correct?
Yeah, if you take fielders out of the equation.
Yeah, okay. So if you're just basing it off of Pedro Martinez's
three true outcome stat
ability, yeah, pretty much. Like, no, but like, it's not really the full three. Yeah, actually, it is, because you can't have a fielder. So yeah, so either a walk, strikeout, or pretty much a home run, but any type of hit. Because if but so if you take if you take their like ability to stop runs, Pedro Martinez has a .20, better than what DeGrom has. They're, about .20 points, out of each other. So
for real. Right now, as of right now, Martinez has the edge over DeGrom for sure.
It removes the results on balls in play, so it's strikeouts, hit, unintentional walks, hit by pitches, and home runs.
Yeah. So
can I just real quick bring something to your attention real quick? So right here, let me pull this up again for myself, because
it's crazy though how when you take away all of the things that try to even it out, it's even. So obviously it's not even because the stats that account for that show Pedro is kind of in favor. But when you look outside of it, 10.7 to 10.9 strikeouts per 9, 2.1 to 2.0 walks per 9, 0.8 home runs per 9 versus 0.7, hits per 9, 7 to 6.8. Everything is so even for both of them.
Yeah.
Just how much the game has changed. This is going back even way before Pedro, but still, I'm sure you guys know. Yeah, talk about 40, 50 years ago. These guys had just machines for arms.
Yep.
Right, and I don't even know if that was it, or if it was they were. This might sound really stupid coming out. They were tougher. I don't mean tougher. I mean if they had something wrong with their arm, they ignored it and they pitched through it.
That they did.
Or whatever the case may be. But if you look at somebody, for example, Dennis Eckersley, right? I think he's just a good example for me.
Mustache.
Because I've heard a lot about him. Not a lot, but I've heard enough about him. 200. I'm looking at his stats right now. This is one example, right? 268.1 innings pitched in 1978, pitched in 35 games.
Right? Eckersley was also a
reliever for a long time.
Closer.
He was a closer
for a few years, yeah.
I think as a Red Sox, right?
But as an athletic.
Oh, is that fun?
Okay. But he was a starter as a Red Sox.
Yep.
He pitched 268 innings, 35 games. 268 divided by 35 is 7.6. So he is averaging just about almost exactly 7 2/3 innings every time he goes out there.
Yeah.
The way things have changed, like if you look at, well, Degrom's a different story. I know he got taken out after 2 or 3 innings because of an injury once or twice, but otherwise,
Oh man.
Degrom's we're looking at his career stats right now. So I don't know if that's
Well, it slowly went down every generation. So it's like if you look at like Cy Young and Walter Johnson, I mean, over half of their starts were complete games.
Freaking Walter Johnson, what an amazing pitcher he was.
If you look at like the 1880s, a guy would start 60 games and have 56 complete games.
Because there was no such thing as a bullpen back then.
Yeah.
And considering there are only 9 innings in a game, for somebody to average a career 1 to 1 point, 1 to 1 1/3 innings higher than someone else is significant.
Yeah.
Significant jump. Like DeGrom's, career thus far is 6 1/3 innings average compared to someone like Dennis Eckersley. That's only 1 year, but still 7 2/3 innings. It's a jump. It is a jump to say an inning and a third. It's a bit of a big difference. There are only 9 innings in a game.
Well, what I was getting at with Walter Johnson was what an underrated pitcher he is to be known. Not a lot of people
I think he's the best pitcher of all time.
Yeah. Not many people our age really actually know about him. It's only people that are really above the age of, I'd say even 35. Above the age of 35 are only people that really know about him. I've spoken, now this isn't common, but I've spoken to a Brooklyn Dodger fan. He is probably about 80 years old, maybe his late 70s, but I'd say he's at least 80. But I've spoken to him, and he just had no clue who I was talking about.
Yeah,
and he's
you're
80.
talking to me about something 100 years ago. This guy that you're talking to, probably the oldest person wasn't even allowed to watch this guy pitch. Baseball wasn't even baseball back then.
Well, no, baseball.
So here's the funny thing, though.
Baseball is baseball back then. Baseball now is not baseball, because as things progressively get changed, the original baseball, you hit a home run, you're out. You don't get a run. You don't get a point. You hit the baseball over the fence, you got to go get it and go back into the dugout. You don't get a run. You don't go on base. That's an out. It's
there was no such thing as intentional walks either.
That too. You picture the guy.
Ago.
What you're telling me you're going to put him on first base because you're scared to pitch to him?
Yeah.
Are you serious? You're telling me that you're going to put a glove on because you're afraid to catch a ball going. I mean, it was only going 60, but still, that's 60. It's not easy.
I think it's obvious that when I just look at numbers and stats for fun, pitching has changed so much more than hitting. Because you can compare a hitter from today to Babe Ruth. You can't compare a pitcher from today. No. Listen to this. You can't compare a pitcher from today to Walter Johnson. And what I mean by that is if you go to all-time stats records, the top OPS guys is very even generation to generation. If you compare the best hitters of every generation, they have very similar OPSs. Yep. But if you compare the best pitchers of each generation, they don't have the same ERAs. Obviously, it's gotten higher with time. The innings pitched to games completed to innings per game, completely different. Versus if you compare OPSs from generation to generation, they are very similar. So hitting really hasn't changed since, what do they call it, the live ball era? What's that, 1900 to current? Well, the dead ball era was before 1900.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what you. I thought you were just.
In the live ball era, baseball hitting has not changed much at all. Outside of people are trying to get home runs now and they don't care about strikeouts as much because I said this in the last one. Fielders are better now, so a strikeout versus a ground out doesn't mean as much today as it did before because fielders sucked 100 years ago. But hitting in general, if you look at OPSs then to now, it's the same.
What I was gonna say about that is, that's not necessarily wrong, but at the same time, it's also not true because if you look at the difference between, let's say right now, 2021, okay, and you look at someone from, let's just take, Babe Ruth's era of hitting. I'm going to give you this type of story in the explanation. I don't know if you remember. I think it was 2018 when Adam Ottavino signed with the Yankees, correct?
He played
He played for the Rockies
yeah.
And then he signed with the Yankees.
Yeah.
Okay. Adam Ottavino tweeted, I think a couple days before he signed with the Yankees, saying that if he were to first Babe Ruth 10 times, he'd strike him out all 10 times. I completely agree with that.
That I agree with. I don't deny that
because
players are better today than they were 100 years ago. But if you compare hitters from stats, generation to generation, you can compare how Babe Ruth played against his generation to how Mike Trout is today. Because I'm just going to go down the list of top 10 OPS guys all time. Ruth, Williams, Gehrig, Bonds, Fox, Greenberg, Hornsby, Manny Ramirez, Mike McGuire, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio. Those are 10 completely different eras of baseball. They all played different generations outside of one or two. But the thing is, you can compare 1 to 1 to 1 to 1.
Yeah.
But when you go to pitching, it's just every single guy's in black and white. If you look at ERA and wins, but if you go to strikeouts, they're all in color because it's different eras of the game.
Yeah.
Versus if you go to hitting and you compare stats to stats, you have a black and white guy and then a guy playing right now in terms of the color, in terms of the photo.
Yeah. No.
So that's what I mean. I'm not saying Babe Ruth would be a baseball player at all today because it's probably not true. Players are more athletically talented now than they ever were. But the difference, what I'm saying is you can compare a hitter to today to a hitter 100 years ago and say who was better in their generation versus pitching. You can't really compare Kershaw to Walter Johnson because what a pitcher does today is much different to what a pitcher did back then.
No, yeah. I was able to understand that. I was just, putting in like a little story of an explanation because I remember when he put that tweet out and the MLB actually posted that to their Instagram because of course that's going to make high heat. You're calling out Babe Ruth, something like that. A lot of people laughed. At that, but not many realize that the only thing that Babe Ruth was ever hitting was a high fastball or a low fastball that wasn't even going anywhere faster than 75.
That's not true. Breaking balls existed.
What breaking balls?
No, like like curveballs and slide. They existed at the time. People threw different pitches and stuff, but when
was Babe Ruth?
It wasn't that breaking balls didn't exist, but athletes 100 years ago. If you look at old NFL and MLB photos, these guys didn't look like professional athletes.
Absolutely.
Like they looked like scrawny, they did not look like athletes. So I completely acknowledge that, professional athletes 100 years ago would not be professional athletes today. Like NFL linemen 100 years ago were my size today.
Okay. So I looked it up. Obviously, Babe Ruth didn't play in the 1800s, obviously. But the first ever breaking ball that was invented was called the skew ball. The skew ball, okay? It was a curveball. It was a curveball. But
from what I heard, it was a kid who he was throwing seashells into the ocean and he saw them curve and he wondered if he could do the same thing with a baseball. That's how the curveball was invented. But that was long before Babe Ruth started playing.
Yeah. So that was created. It's just a baseball lore. No one actually knows if it's true, but this is what's said. It was called the skew ball. It was a curveball, and it was created in Brooklyn in 1870. It was made in Brooklyn in 1870, in August of 1870, and then they were able to,
they banned it, and then they brought it, and then they banned it for 10 years.
Yeah,
because it was too hard to hit. But again, that was long before Babe Ruth played. That was like 1880s or 90s when they did that.
Now, I will, retract my statement saying that there were no breaking balls. But to be fair, I think it's a statement that is able to hold its truth, saying that 90% of the pitches was a low fastball or high fastball. I'm pretty sure all the way up until 1905, they actually had a rule in the MLB where you had to tell the player where you were going to throw it in the zone. And if the umpire didn't believe that it was in that part of the zone, it would be considered a ball.
That's not even baseball.
That is baseball, but that's not baseball how we know it.
That's ridiculous.
But that's
a joke. That's a joke.
Umpires had rocking chairs in the 1880s. How can you see the ball if you're like drinking a beer 10 feet behind the plate?
I'm telling you that, but that's a real thing. Like that was a real rule. Like,
well, if you ever go to the Baseball Hall of Fame, do you see the gloves?
Those things are made.
You can't catch with those.
They look like oven mitts.
You can't catch with those.
But people catch with them. People do catch with them.
Everything.
And, I mean that.
From the ball to the gear.
I'm not saying that baseball ability has nothing to do with it, but that's another reason why fielding was very bad compared to now from 100 years ago.
The gloves nowadays are ridiculous.
The gloves now make it impossible to not catch it. If you don't catch a ball,
have you ever held an A2000? Have you ever played catch with an A2000?
I probably have, and I just don't know that it's called an A2000.
Wait, they're like $300 gloves. I don't have one, but I've used like my friends before. Those things, like they are something different. I can only imagine like showing Babe Ruth a Wilson A2000 and being like, play with this.
I remember. Okay, so obviously there's a difference between each types of gloves. I mean, you could play a position, like you could play outfield position with like an infield glove and like vice versa, but like relatively you'd like to have an infielder's mitt if you're playing the infield, especially if you're playing first base. You'd like to have a first baseman's mitt. So there's going to be that difference, but like the gloves that are made like for different positions are insane. If you look at a right fielder's mitt compared to a third baseman's mitt, it's a lot more wider and it's a lot more longer.
Yeah. Well, 13 inches.
When the ball is hit to you, I'm sorry, Andrew, excuse me. When the ball is hit to you, no matter what position you're playing, the ball is hit to you. Basically, you're expected to catch it no matter what glove you're using. The ball is hit right directly to you. What differentiates you from the average fielder, whether you are going to win a Gold Glove or not win a Gold Glove, is your range, your arm strength, your baseball, the understanding you have of baseball fundamentals. Who's on? Oh, this guy's on first. I fielded. This guy's on second. I fielded the ball on a backhand running to my right. I have a better play at third than I do at first. I'm going to go to third and get the out there. Your range, your flexibility. How quickly could you get the ball in your glove, get off the ground, spin around, fire the ball to first base, make an accurate throw, and get the out?
That's
right? These are what win you Gold Gloves. If somebody throws the ball right to you, whether you are using your mother's oven mitts or an A2000, whatever the hell that is, you are expected to catch the damn ball because you get paid so much money. You have to stand there and go like this. And if the ball doesn't go in your glove, you shouldn't be on the field.
That's
right? So
that's
to
very
me, that's
like
how it makes you a good
explainable.
player, by being able to get a ball in your mitt, regardless of what mitt you're using, whether what position you play. Like if you look at a Gold Glove shortstop, you know what makes him a Gold Glove shortstop because of the plays that he makes, his range, his arm strength, the fundamentals, the amount of runs he saved with his damn brain, his arm, and his glove all at once. The hops, how he could adjust his body to field, knowing what angle the ball is going to come to him at, right? All of these things. If he's playing up the middle and the ball is hit right in the shortstop position, how quickly could he get over, stretch his arm across his body, catch the ball on a difficult hop, and then throw it to first base, whether he spins around, does a jump throw, whatever the hell he does a a goddamn backflip and a tumble salt. As long as he gets the ball to first base and makes the out, that's all that matters, right? Because you're talking about these gloves and this and that. That's what I'm saying. That's what makes you a good defensive player. That's what makes you a good defensive player. All of those things combined together. And if you, I know what you're saying when you say that the fielding was atrocious back then. You don't see guys making 40 errors. You know what I mean? Like you don't see that nowadays.
Yeah, so like the max glove size that you can have is 13 inches. Generally, outfielders' gloves and first base gloves are between like 12 and a half and 13 because you want the big gloves. Usually the first baseman gloves, they're more longer and they're thinner. They don't have a lot of padding because you want to be able to catch it as fast as possible and have it go in the back of the glove as fast as possible. Infielders' gloves, they're generally smaller and more rounded because you want to make the fast pitch. You want to get it in your glove and out as fast as possible over to second base or to make the throw to first. So those are usually between 11 and 12 inches. 11 and a half is more standard. And then the type of webbing too. Pitchers' gloves have closed webbing because you don't want the batter to be able to see the type of seams and grip that you have from the mound versus infielders' gloves. They have a more open type webbing so they can easily get to the back and then get them out as fast as possible so you can flip to second or make the throw to first.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so of course
I wish I had my glove that I could show you guys, but it's in my car that's being fixed right now. So
yeah, I don't have one.
But my glove that I had, I think I told you guys, I mean, actually, I probably have my catcher's mitt somewhere in there, but like
those are the only gloves that can be like more than 13 inches. Those have different rules because they have a lot more padding on the sides and they're more like kind of like, I don't know how to, I've used them, but I can't visualize it off the top of my head.
I'll see if I can find my catcher's mitt.
Shoeless Joe played with, it looked like it was 10 degrees out and he was cold. That's what his glove looked like. And he wanted to build a snowman. That's what his glove looked like.
Not wrong.
But it looked like he was building. I was building a snowman the other day in my yard, with my fiance, and it didn't come out like a snowman. So we kind of made it like a snow toilet. It was funny. But my hands got cold, so I put on this glove, and the glove I put on had a little padding in it. It was big. It was bigger than your average cute little glove that you wear when your fingers get cold. It was a big glove specifically for touching snow. That looked like the glove that Shoeless Joe Jackson used God knows how many years ago. Nowadays, you got these guys using big, giant, whatever.
I didn't find my glove. I think that's probably in my car also because sometimes
my gloves are in my car too. Yeah. I have an infielder's glove and an outfielder's glove in my car. Like I have the baseball bag where two bats are on the sides. I have a glove on both of them. One's an infielder's, one's an outfielder's. So next time I'll bring them in because you can clearly see the differences between the two of them.
I was able to find one of my wooden bats. It's very big.
The bats too.
Look at a lot of pop-ups, James. That's a lot.
It was a lot. Listen, I'll tell you what. I was a tremendously bad hitter. Okay, I was very bad at hitting.
A lot of pop-ups.
It is a lot, but you know what? There's a lot of dents over here.
Yeah, that barrel percentage. I see you.
Listen, I'll tell you this. A lot of these were BP, so it's all right.
It's all good. You never broke it.
I've broken a bat before.
Think of how different the bats were back then to now. Like the bats didn't break years ago. The bats never broke, and like I never hit with a wooden bat, so like I can't really describe it. But I mean, even just how players are brought up today, the metal bats, the type of barrels they have, the drop threes, the amount of pretty much every bat that you use that's BB Corps certified, that's not wood, that's aluminum. It means drop three means it's 3 inches longer than how many ounces it is. So standard would be either like 36 inches, 33 ounces, 35, 32, or like anything. That's probably a bit big, but like anything from like 34 to 31 or like my bat's at 32.29. I've had it since I was like a freshman in high school. And the thing's got so many, like not dents, but so many, like you can see how eroded it is, but it still has pop. If you bounce the knob into the ground, that's how you can tell how good a bat is. If you touch the ground with the knob and it rings and vibrates, it's still good. And like that's how you can tell how I don't know if it's the same with wood, but that's how you judge the aluminum bats.
You know what? Listen, I could keep saying this, but like everything's in my car. I have an aluminum bat in my car. I have catcher's equipment in my car. I have, the glove. I have another glove. Listen, another thing. I have pine tar spray. Like I have all like different stuff. And I remember this one time I got in trouble in Little League. Little League, I got in trouble because I put pine tar spray on my batting gloves, okay? And the umpire said that that's not allowed.
Weird. No, I use that stuff too, but I use the thing that you rub under the bat, I think.
No, here's the thing. I use the stick. I know what you're talking about. The stick, the pine tar stick. I use the pine tar stick. I had like, because when I'd swing, like I'm a big dude. Like I have power. Do I have contact? Absolutely not. But I have power. So when I hit the ball, it got hit hard. It just didn't get hit further enough because I couldn't like get the right angle, or I didn't make contact with it. I'd either swing and miss and I'd look like Bartolo Colon a lot. Like a lot. Like I swung out of my helmet probably more times than Bartolo Colon has done before. I'd swing, my helmet would go flying, like things would like all that stuff would happen. But I had the power. I remember this one time. Okay. So I was 13, okay? I was 13 when I finally hit my first home run, okay? 13. That's because I can't hit for shit. Like, I just couldn't. So when I finally hit my first home run, I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then, here and there, I got more home runs and stuff like that. But I was always like, the reason why I was on the field was because I was always good enough to get the ball to the first baseman.
Yeah.
And if I was playing first base, I was good enough to make the outs. I'll tell you what, the only reason why I hate first base is because the scoops that that you have to make sometimes are so freaking annoying, and I'm not a flexible dude at all. I can't do what Anthony Rizzo does where he splits and makes that freaking like crazy scoop and stuff like that. I can't do that, nor will I want to. So I loved playing third base. So playing third base was like always great, but the problem is I can't hit, and you need a third baseman's typically strong arm. Whether you're good at fielding or not, you have a strong arm and you have the power in the bat and you can hit. Me, I couldn't hit. I just had the strong arm and good fielding. Like if I had like really good range, I could play shortstop and I'd be the typical shortstop. Good range, good fielding, good arm, can't hit. I was not.
Anderson Simmons, bro.
Yeah, I just didn't have the range. So
the potentially slightly less flashy version of Anderson Simmons. I love Anderson Simmons. Literally, he's one of my favorite players. Not atrocious offense. He's had some decent, months, I guess you could say, offensively, but nothing spectacular, nothing MVP level.
MVP wise.
Exactly, yeah.
I would say one of my funniest moments. So I was playing on an intramural team, like a casual one over this past summer. It was, I think the ages were, it was like 16 to 21. That was like the age group. So it was like, I was in left field just throwing around before the inning started. They called balls in. I throw it from left field over the first base fence. I'm not kidding.
Wait, hold on. What was the league that you were playing in?
No, it was an adult intramural league. So it was a full size field.
Yeah. What was the league that you were playing in?
It was on an East Meadow team. I don't really know what the name of the league was, but it was like we played some random. We played some teams. We played a team from like Mineola, Freeport.
Okay, yeah, no, because I was questioning because like I don't know if I'm gonna join like a men's baseball team or if I'm just gonna join like a men's softball league team. But like I want to do that, and I'm 19. So
there's a big difference between like a men's league versus the type of intramural league I was in because the full on men's league they throw 85, like the average in those leagues. I cannot hit 85, but there's a lot of intramural leagues that are like if you're only 19 now, right? Like I think I just aged out of the one that I was in. It was like I think 16 to 20 was the age group. So then but it's like like if you want to join like a casual intramural league for like late teens, like you could probably do one of those and be like fairly decent at it. But like once you hit like 20, 21, you either have to join like a softball league or you have to be good enough to play on a men's team if you're not playing collegiately. That's why I'm trying to start a club team at the college that I'm at now, because then I could compete with that kind of level, like people that play at my age group, but not at a high level.
Well,
Like a club college team would probably be an average level of where I would play.
now for that,
Because
that club college team, like who's like joint, like who would be able to join? Like, does it have to be people?
anyone who goes to the school and isn't on the NCAA team.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No. Yeah.
So I just have to find 11 to 15 people who want to play baseball and aren't already on the NCAA Division I team.
I would love to play baseball again, dude. I would love to play baseball again.
Wait, Post is Division One?
Yeah.
All right. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. Is it Division One across all sports?
Yeah. Yeah, they play in the Northeast Conference, which is a Division I conference.
Okay. Yeah, because I know, some schools.
No, like the football team played West Virginia this year. It didn't go well for them, but that's the type of like college.
I think
team
I know.
I
think I know the starting. I think he's the starting center for Post. Greg Amato.
Yeah. I know who that is.
Yeah, I know him. Like
I do broadcasting. I called all their home games last year.
Yeah, he literally lives like 5 minutes away from me. Yeah, he went to the same school as me, same high school and everything. So I know.
What was the highest level you guys played up until? Like, did you guys play in high school or?
No, I'm not the same age as him. You know that, right?
Okay, yeah. No,
he graduated when I was in 9th grade. No,
I'm saying like you two. Like, what was the highest level of baseball you guys played?
Oh, me. What was the highest baseball I played? The highest baseball I played was not a 9th grade out of school league. I never played.
Okay, yeah. So like an intramural league for like people that age group.
Yeah.
I played in a summer league, and then I played in a fall league in 8th grade when I turned 13, and then I stopped. We won the championships, and I retired.
Yeah.
I went out a winner though. I was the worst player on my team because I was playing with kids older than me and better than me overall. Maybe a year older.
The thing
I started playing very late. Like, I didn't start playing baseball till I was about 10, 11. So I was always the worst on my Little League team because everybody else has been playing since they were like 3, 4. So I played, sucked, quit, and then came back when I was in high school, tried out for JV, got cut, so then I joined an intramural team. And then I slowly worked my way back up, and I made varsity my senior year.
Well, what happened with me was I first started playing baseball. So the league that I played in was called Yuma. Okay. That was the league. And I originally started playing when I was in 1st grade because that's the first year you could play. They get, it's a little like hit off the tee and everything like that. That's how they do it. And then, you slowly get into like, coaches throwing you balls and stuff like that. You never strike out. If you miss the ball, you always like still go on and go on. But I only played 1st grade. And then when the recession happened in, the late, before 2010, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
When the recession happened, it actually it caused like my family a little problem, like with financially wise. So we were only able to afford one car, and my dad worked night times. So he had to leave the house by 8 o'clock. Yeah. The problem is, after all of like the practices and stuff were done, it was already 8 o'clock. Like we weren't going to get home until he was already had to leave for work. And we also like a lot of years, like we actually like couldn't afford a lot of it. So finally in 6th grade, I got back into it, and I only played 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. But it was still fun. My 6th grade team, for our league, we actually made it to the very last like championship game. We lost, but we made it to the championship game. And then 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, 7th and 8th grade, my team went completely defeated. Like completely defeated. We didn't win a single game. And then 9th grade was my final good year. Like it was literally my my good year, like my only good year probably. And our team won one game. Like, so that's basically like how my like baseball like career went. I was never good enough to play on the school, but I wasn't bad enough where if I played for like an outer school league, anybody would really like judge it. So I was kind of like in that, like, in that.
That was me too. So like I got cut 3 years, like JV freshman year, sophomore year,
Yeah, I got
varsity
9th,
junior year,
10th, and 11th.
and then I made varsity my senior. My career high school batting average is 1,000. So like again, I played intramural ball like always each spring and summer, and I was always like average for those leagues, but not good enough to play at the high school level until I finally made it my last year. But I got a few at bats and scrimmages, got a couple hits, but in league play for like Nassau County, I went 1 for 1. We were up by like 10. My coach goes, Scarpacci, get a helmet on. There was a guy on second. I drove in a run. And like after all my years of playing, quitting, playing at the intramural level, doing decent, then finally making it at varsity, that one at bat I'll always remember, because that was like that solidified all my years of baseball at like that one moment.
That's
You're like Terrence Gore.
1-for-1 joke. I was gonna make a 1-for-1 joke, but I was gonna let you finish first, and you got to.
Did you know the story already? I think I told you once before.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Maybe, yeah.
What
So
I was
like, yeah,
saying,
my career high school batting average is 1,000. I went 1 for 1.
Yeah, King, bro. Listen, that's super epic, dude. Real talk. It's awesome.
Like that's the thing though. It's like, what were the odds of me getting a hit in that moment? Because I've never played at that baseball. I never played at that level of baseball before until that year, and that was my only true at bat that season. So the odds of me getting a hit are like 1 in a million. Because I didn't hit much more than 250 on the intramural leagues, which were lower than that league. Now, granted, it was one of the worst teams in Nassau County, but still, like the guy wasn't a bad pitcher. Like he was a varsity level pitcher, and I just happened to get one very good swing. I got it through the hole between short and third, and that's all that counts.
the question is, what pitch was it, and do you have the ball?
I don't think I have the ball. No.
You're all right. I know my.
I have a video of it happening though.
I know
it was a fastball out. It was a fastball outside.
Oh, so you know the type. Okay.
You're a lefty?
Because I zoomed. I've watched the video 500,000 times.
You're a lefty?
What?
You're a lefty?
No,
he got his bat across the plate, and he got.
I was very good.
You had to have been really early.
That, and I cast my barrel out because I swing on a level plane. So it was a fastball. So yeah, that was the thing. I swung early. I casted my barrel out because I could hit the outside pitch better than almost anybody I knew because the way I hit. I couldn't hit inside pitches for shit though. But so it was a fastball outside, and I casted the barrel out just at a perfect angle, and it cut the other way.
Well, I'll explain my, I guess, batting stance like the best way possible. So do you know Stanton's batting stance?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how
inside, yeah.
No, well, he's inside the plate, and his left foot is actually in front of his right foot. Like his right foot is the back foot instead of like the left foot being the back foot. I'm vice versa. I'm vice versa. My left foot is behind my right foot. Okay, and then when I do like my little getting ready to swing, like when I get like into my like when I get into my like swing, I take my left foot, I bring it up. I don't slide step. Like I bring it up. And then I bring my feet even when I swing, like and plant my feet. So I start off with my left foot like completely back, and I'm like very loose and like laid back when I'm up to bat. And then when I see that the pitcher's winding up, that's when I get into it. And then when he releases the ball, that's when I step into it and everything. I'm more of like when I'm up to bat, like I mean maybe that's why I'm not like as good as hitting because I'm a very laid back guy. I mean, the problem is my contact. I know that for sure because I have a good eye. I really do have a good eye. Even though I need glasses, I actually have a good eye when I'm up to bat.
I'm the same way, yeah.
It's just when I swing, I can't make contact with it. And so if I see a ball that's going to be outside the zone, even if it's just outside the zone, I won't swing. But when it's in the zone, I will swing and miss at it.
Just like me, yeah, I always had a great eye. I always got on base. I made contact pretty well for the most part, but I had a couple slumps. So when I slumped, I was
the first year that I came back to baseball. Yeah, I was on an intramural team like freshman year. It was after the first time I got cut from JV. I joined like an intramural team. I had the second highest on base percentage on the team, but I had one hit the whole year because I had like 15 walks.
I can tell you, I probably walked at least like for my batting average. All right, so I know my best year. my best year that I ever had in baseball was my ninth grade year. That was it. And I didn't play for the team, like it was the outer school league. I think I actually batted 300. No home runs. No home runs. Batted like around 300, but my on base percentage had to have been like 500. I was just getting walk after walk with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I did pitch a no hitter one time. I was more of a I was
If
more
it's
of a
not perfect, we don't care.
it's good enough. Yeah, I was more concerned on my pitching, my hitting, but I did a lot of work for both. But I love the pitching. I love the pitching most. Um, yeah, they made contact a couple of times. I think a walk or two. I think an error or two. Sloppy. Little leaguers are sloppy in the field, So an error, but I was mowing them down. So I'll always keep that with me. I pitched a no hitter one time, and I'll be grateful for that always. I
Yeah, I always that's what I kind of like prided myself on always being was the fact that, I might suck with the bat, but at least I was good at fielding. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Like that's the one thing that I could say about baseball
Yeah.
that I was really good at was the fielding. And not only that, when I wasn't up to bat or near up to bat, sometimes the coach would let me do the third base like coaching job. And I never had a runner thrown out at home. Never. Never ever would I let somebody get thrown out.
So a player was coaching third.
Yeah, but the problem is if a player's doing it, you actually have to have your like a helmet on. If
Yeah,
it's just a coach can just go out there, no problem. But a
but
player has
why?
to put his helmet on.
I don't understand. I've never heard that before. A player coaching a
But
base.
it not in school leagues. In school leagues they don't do that. But in outer
No, my high school, we had a guy on my team. When I played varsity baseball, we had a junior who was he was like a bench guy, but like he played a decent amount of outfield and stuff. Like he was a fast guy, pinch runner, and like there was two coaches of the high school team. The main head coach, he always coached third, and then the other guy, sometimes he would coach first, and sometimes he would have like the guy on my team coach first.
Okay.
But it was the same thing. He didn't need a helmet on, but when our player did it, he did.
Yeah, because that's more of like it's a liability issue because if like a guy older than 18 or 18 or older gets hit, they can't sue, but like it's a minor, so he gets put in danger.
Yeah.
But so I'd get put at third base coach a lot. Like if I made the last out of the inning, it was like James go to third.
But it's just lack of credibility. Like the guy who just struck out is now telling me when I shouldn't run home.
Well, I mean, listen, if they're not good at hitting, but they're good at getting hitting tips, like that's different. What do you think a lot of baseball coaches are that are hitting coaches?
Of course.
Listen, if you go into the mentality of I'm not going to listen, if you go into the mentality, I'm not going to go into baseball listening to
Bill Belichick never played football at a high level. He's the greatest head coach of all time.
Kids
That
are
too.
Kids. Kids are kids. Kids are going to see a player on their team. Kids want to be the best player on their team. Always.
Understandable.
Want to be the best player on their team. If a kid I played baseball with was the best player on his team, he wasn't looking for anyone's help from anyone on his team. A father.
That's
a coach,
understandable.
of course.
I know.
So I don't know. To me, it's just a credibility issue. I've never come across ever that before. I played in organized leagues. They were never school leagues, but they were organized leagues. That you paid a certain amount of money before the league started. You sign up. They have a draft. They have a draft. They had like 6 to 8 coaches, I think, and you.
Okay, well that's why. That's why.
Yeah.
You ran into an organized league that was really organized, like stuff like that. My team had at most 2 coaches on it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So my league was always like you only have like 3 coaches at max, but my team only had 2 coaches. So what are you going to do? Have both your coaches out on the first and third base coaching job? No, you have to have a coach at, in the dugout. Like you have to have a coach there. So when when you don't have that third base coach, you have to throw someone out there. So they always threw a player out there. Not all the time. The reason is because they kind of had like, not my team especially didn't have really like good like coaches, like kid coaches to like go to third base like and look. and tell you when to go and everything. Me, when I don't even over exaggerate this. Like no one has ever gotten thrown out on my like cue. Like if a ball got past the catcher, I knew if he was going or not. If a ball got hit into the outfield and there was a guy on second, I knew if he was rounding third or not. I knew that. Like if he was stopping, I was giving him the stopping gesture. I've never had anybody out on my cue. Same thing for second base. Like if they were rounding second and I told them to stop, like they were not thrown out at third. It was not on me. I had this one kid that blew through my stop call, and I kid you not, it was probably the like most obvious stop call that I had, because what happened was it was a ball. He was at second base, okay? It was a ball. Everybody was playing in, okay? Because what happened was there was bases loaded, and everybody was playing in the outfield because, if the ball got through, they wanted to get the out, okay? Everybody was playing in. The ball got hit on a line drive to right field, okay? Now, obviously, right field in Little League is kind of like the lazy field. Like you throw someone there because they're bad at field.
Yeah.
That's what they typically do. But when you're playing shallow, so you're not that far away, you don't have to have the greatest arm to play right field, and you don't have to be the greatest fielder, but it was hit on a line. The guy dropped it. The guy on third obviously took off home. Obviously. But the kid at second, I was saying, stop. Don't go. The guy in right field gunned him out. I don't even think he was like 3/4 of the way to a third, and he got gunned out. He ended up being like in a rundown, but like it was gunned. Like he got gunned out. And that's the only time I'd say someone got thrown out, like when I was at third base, but it wasn't my fault. I gave him the stop sign and he decided not to listen.
So you guys, you have like left center and right center too? Because
No.
a lot of the times when I played Little League, when I was like younger, it was left field, left center, and right field. Because the teams were so big, they threw everyone out.
The only times what I had, like, because it's harder to fill the older leagues, because in Little League, at that age group, everyone plays Little League. But when you get to the high school level, you have the travel ball guys, the high school guys, and then everybody else quits, and then the few people left over play intramural ball. So the teams are usually very small. So what I had a lot was, if a couple of guys couldn't make it, we played with two outfielders. We played with a left center and a right center. And like that happens a lot at like the high school but intramural high school level, because those teams are very small. So if you're missing 2 or 3 guys, you only have 8 guys to play with. So that happened to me a lot over the years. But outside of that, so like another personal story. So I played mostly infield because I was very agile, and when it came to that, but when it came to the outfield, I had a great arm, but I couldn't read the fly balls for shit. So there were many, many times where the first thing you're supposed to do as an outfielder is go back. I ran in a lot because I just misread it. So there were many times where I would run in, run back, and then gun somebody out or like force them to stop from the fence. So like one time I had a ball go all the way to the fence, but I ran almost to the infield, and then I ran back. And it was an obvious double. It would have been a double anyway, because I wouldn't have made the catch even if I went all the way back and hit the wall. But I gunned it from the left field fence to third base, and I forced the guy to stop at second. And I did that many times over, just because I could rebound my failed attempt at getting the ball with my arm.
Like I said, you sound like Cespedes. Cespedes did that a lot.
He can't read the ball for shit, but he can throw.
Yeah, have you ever seen the videos?
Very lazy.
I've seen him throw, but I didn't know he was that bad at tracking balls, fly balls.
Hold on. I mean, first of all, look at, not going to lie, the 2015 World Series. But that was just like a good statement. Like, he was just like not good at fielding. This is an easy lookup. Like, I know you guys can't see it right now, but like there's videos, like montages of him like not being good at like fielding. Oh, I'm gonna share my screen. All right. All right. Watch this. Look at that. You see that?
Yeah.
He ends up gunning him.
That's nuts.
But
Yeah.
Cespedes has done that multiple times over his career.
Yeah.
That's not the first time he's done that.
And then he stands there, right? He boots it, and he stands there, and he's very nonchalant, lackadaisical. Next thing you know, the ball's at the
Yeah.
plate.
Cespedes one time the ball was easily in play. You know how sometimes the walls have protection.
Yeah.
Okay. So
That was a spring training game, though.
yeah, but either way, still, that's so
Yeah.
stupid that he does this. The wall was lifted, so underneath there wasn't protection. It was just straight to the wall, and then higher there was protection. The ball went underneath there, and he went like this, waving his arms, calling off the ball. And the umpire walked up to him, was grabbed it, and he was like, "What the heck?" I mean, he's lucky it was a spring training game, but still, that's lazy. That's very lazy.
I know.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, but Cespedes is one of a kind. Gunning guys down from the wall. I mean, think about how many guys can do that. Roberto
Clemente.
Vlad Guerrero Sr., Clemente.
Judge.
Who?
Clemente was
Judge.
crazy.
Yeah.
Judge. You know what? I have a bone to pick with Judge. Okay.
Damn.
I have a bone to pick with Judge. This one time, I was playing MLB The Show. I was playing Diamond Dynasty. Okay. And I forgot what one of the moments was, but one of the moments was I had to hit a certain amount of home runs. Okay. I was playing in Yankee Stadium. I hit the ball. Okay. Ready? Hit the ball. I was rounding third, halfway to home, and Aaron Judge still didn't have the ball. Okay. And out of nowhere, he picks the ball up and guns me out at home from the warning track.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds about right.
Now, I understand that that's a game.
Yeah.
But you know what? He still did that to me. And a lot of times when I was playing at Yankee Stadium in MLB The Show, he's robbed me of home runs multiple times because of how tall he is. He's as tall as the freaking fence practically.
Yeah, he's 6'7".
Yeah, I know.
Right? He's 6'7"?
Yeah, he's 6'7". Isn't he? Am I mistaken or I'm correct about this? People were talking about how tall, crazy tall he was in 2017, but wasn't he not the tallest Yankee? Wasn't
No, there was an Angels pitcher that was 6'9" at the time.
No, but I'm talking about the Yankees. Trying to remember his name. Dellin Betances. Wasn't he 6'8"?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yeah. And people
The Mets have three guys who were, I think.
No, I think he was 6'6" or 6'8".
No, I think CC was 6'6".
Well, David.
No,
Peterson.
CC's 6'3" or 6'4". No, but I mean,
CC's 6'6".
Oh, he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me. David Peterson is 6'7". I think Miguel Castro is 6'7". Not
CC is 6'6". Dellin Betances is 6'8".
Yeah.
So people was that
Stanton 6'6".
Yeah. People were
Sanchez is 6'5".
No one cares about Sanchez. Maybe that's why he's bad at catching.
Seriously, yeah, catchers and second basemen are usually short.
Let me just put it this way. I'm not here to rip on Gary Sanchez, but as a Yankee fan, how bad do you want him off the team?
I know. I don't dislike him at all. I think he still has the potential. I think he's still a top 5 catcher in the game.
I'm gonna hide my face.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. I can't.
He's
even
messing with you.
He struggled.
Listen,
he has really bad stretches, but he's still a top 5 catcher in the game, I think.
I understand his potential still there, but you know, Gleyber Torres' potential is still there. And I'm not saying Gleyber Torres should be looked at like Gary Sanchez, because I think Gary Sanchez has had more of the time to really show himself. You know, what was it? 2019 was when Gleyber really went off. He had that 38 home run season, right?
Yeah.
Well,
the thing about Sanchez is he's really only had one bad year, and that was 2018. He was good in 16. He was good in 17. He was good in 19. 2020 doesn't really count. In 2021, he wasn't awful.
Well, he's another three true outcomes player, from what I understand.
He's not. No, he's not a
sort of. No.
His walk is not there. He does not walk.
He strikes out a lot, but the thing is, he's not a great defensive catcher, but he can gun
Terrible.
people out. He's got a very strong arm.
But
He's-
listen, him gunning people out doesn't matter when he's dropping the ball.
It balances out sometimes.
Another issue with him is his framing. Like, I caught,
It's
and I'm
not great. Yeah.
Listen, I caught, and I'm not saying framing is the easiest thing to do, but when your framing is the worst part of your catching,
Yeah.
that's an issue. That's really an issue. You need, like, as a catcher, your pitcher depends on you framing. Like, not gonna lie, a lot of strikeouts come from the catcher's framing the ball.
Oh yeah.
Like, for example, Mitch Garver, he's an amazing framer. You guys, like, I don't know if you guys know this. Like, he's actually an amazing
The Twins catcher.
Yeah, he's the Twins catcher. But, like, the Yankees tried, like, recreating it, and the Yankees brought in the catching coach from the Twins, like, signed him. Like, after his deal was done in, like, 2017, he gave the Yankees, got him, signed him, and, made the duty for Sanchez, like, become, like, the best framer, do what Mitch Garver's doing. And he's just not done it. He can't frame. Whatever it is about him, he cannot frame. Whether it's the fact that he's 6'5", is he? You said 6'5", right?
Yeah, he's tall for a catcher.
Yeah. Whether the fact that he's 6'5", or just a simple fact that he's just like, a wide man.
He's 6'2", apparently. He's not that tall.
That's 2 inches taller than me.
2 inches
I
taller.
thought he was tall.
But he's
Yeah, it
not.
says 6'2". I thought he was taller. Yeah.
Well, either way, still 6'2" is still pretty tall for a catcher. Like, Christian Vasquez is 5'8".
Yeah,
Yeah, catchers and
100 Kirk.
Catchers,
catchers and second baseman are short.
and a lot of time center fielders too. Like, short, except for catchers, fast. That's typically how they are. Contact over power, unless if you're Jose Altuve against the Yankees in the playoffs. Then, for whatever reason, you look like you're on steroids.
I love Jose Altuve, not because he destroys
No,
Yankees.
you know what? And that's something that Jose Altuve gets a bad rap for. Like, listen, honestly, I don't like that the Astros cheated in 2017. I'm not a big fan of it, but at the same time, like, Jose Altuve, because he won the MVP, and a lot of people, and I agree with this, Judge did get snubbed of MVP in 2017. Like, it's the obvious thing. Like, Altuve only had batting average over him. Like, that was literally the only thing that he had over him was batting average.
World Series. Bias.
Yeah, but the playoffs don't determine your.
I know, I understand, but there's always going to be bias.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But so what I was getting at was, Judge was snubbed of the 2017 MVP award, but a lot of people don't like Altuve because he won it on a cheating team, and a lot of people just automatically assume Jose Altuve as the main cheater. But that actually is Carlos Correa, and Yankee fans are willing to sign Carlos Correa.
It was Correa and Springer.
Yeah, and
Springer,
you know what?
Springer was one of the-
Yeah, it was
Springer
Correa and Springer that were the main two people.
And Beltran.
Well, yeah, Beltran. But the reason why I'm saying the main two people is because Correa and Springer were the people that were starting every single game.
Yeah.
Jose Altuve, only less than 2% of his at-bats had a bang from a trash can. And if you notice, you go back to a lot of the video. Like, it sounds like, like when I say less than 2% of his at-bats had bangs, and I say a lot of the video, like, it kind of like seems like contradicting, but like, he had a lot of at-bats during the season. So obviously there's going to be a lot of video footage of him with a bang. If you look at it, it's only one bang per at-bat that he has it, because after the first bang, he looks at the dugout.
Yeah, he didn't want it. He willingly didn't want it. Yeah.
It's like, don't do it. And if you bang the second time, Jose Altuve almost like rips your head off. Like, he looks like one of those midgets running around that are mad. Like, he will like rip your head off. So that's one thing that I get, like, I feel bad for Jose Altuve for, is because he gets the rap for the 2017 Astros, because he's the main guy that that Astro fans looked up to and everything. And he won the 2017 MVP over Judge after snubbing him and now finding out that there was cheating involved in the 17 Astros.
Yeah.
That only makes it worse. But, it's not his fault that the voters snubbed Judge. It's not his fault. He can't play into that. He only can do what he does on the field. And if you look at it, he did what he did on the field, and he told people, like, he visibly showed it, like, don't bang. Like, if you realize I'm up to bat, don't bang. And if you see me looking at you with that face, don't bang. So it's almost like, he had nothing to do with it. I'm not saying that he didn't have anything to do with it, because if you knew about it and you know what was going on, you had something to do with it. That's my belief. If you see it and you don't fix it, and you don't stop it completely, you had something to do with it.
Alex Cora took that to the Red Sox, though, the next year.
Hey, hold on. No. That's explainable. Listen, this is explainable, okay? Because I've had this argument with, I'm not going to say the exact name on the podcast because I don't know if he wants me to, but in our sports group chat, I've had this debate with the same exact debate with, this person. Alex Cora, listen, I know it's a coincidence, but there's no evidence that he had anything to do with the 2018 Red Sox cheating. The reason why he got fired is because of the 2017 cheating. It says that in the reason why he got fired. In the Manfred report about the 2018 Red Sox, it says that it was their replay room manager that was just giving off information. And the players had nothing to do with it either. What happened was the replay room manager would tell Alex Cora, or not even Alex Cora directly. He'd tell a different manager in the Red Sox dugout, whether it was the bench coach, pitching coach, not pitching coach because the pitching coach is in the bullpen, or it's actually sometimes he would be in the dugout because he'd have to speak to the starter. But whatever coach it was, he'd tell that coach, and then that coach would tell then that coach would tell Cora, and then Cora would tell his teammates. Now, obviously, Cora doesn't know that he found out by the replay room manager, but whatever coach told Cora knows, and that's when it gets spectacle. How is a replay room manager finding this out? Your duty is to look at the replays. So if you have video film and you're looking at this, that's a little sketchy and you're finding out their signs. That's a little odd. But Cora, he's finding out by his, coach that's literally sitting 5 feet away from him. So it's not like he could be skeptical of it. Do I believe that Cora could have had something to do with it? Absolutely. His 2017 cheating and then 2018 Red Sox get caught cheating. It's obviously that it could be not a coincidence, but at the same time, I think it is a coincidence. I don't think Cora did have anything to do with it, but he could have. Now, with the players, when people say that the players should have been punished from the 2018 Red Sox, I think that's absolutely ridiculous because the Red Sox didn't even do what the Astros did. They didn't bang on anything. They didn't whistle. They didn't do any of that. Obviously, Andrew, you listen to the Michael K show a lot, I assume, right?
Yeah, every now and then, yeah.
This right here, okay? This is coming from a Red Sox fan. I love Michael K. I watch clips of his. Look at Vinny's face. I watch clips of Michael K's show all the time on YouTube, all the time. I listen.
Do you think he's a better broadcaster or a talk show host?
Well, seeing that I don't enjoy watching the Yankees, I'm gonna go.
That's fair. Yeah,
I'm gonna go with talk show host, but I also, I don't listen to the Yankees enough to really, go with, how he, does on the field. I do like his home run call. I will say that. Besides Gary Cohen, his is my favorite home run call in baseball. Okay, so even more than, the Red Sox broadcasts, even more than Vin Scully. I love Michael K's home run call, except for Gary Cohen. Gary Cohen's is the best in baseball. But, besides that, Michael K on the Michael K show has specifically said he does not think that the 2018 Astros really did that much wrong. He says it's wrong, but like most of it was gamesmanship. And if you think about it, it really was. Because the only way that a batter would know that the pitch is coming is if a player got on second base. When that player was on second base and he was able to see the sign, like he'd be able to like read it off. You know, if he tapped his foot once, like if he tapped his right foot once, it would be a fastball. If he moved over to the right once, it was, you know, like an off speed, whatever it was. That's how they, you know, told the other batter what was going on. So a lot of it was gamesmanship. A lot of it was sketchy. I do agree with that. But it was nowhere near the level of what the Astros did. If you want to compare it on a scale of like, you know, 1 to 100, I wouldn't even put the Red Sox like cheating scandal in like a 20%. Like the Astros, like what they did was like really bad. And you'd put that like way, way, way more up there than the Red Sox. But to even like compare their cheating is like not, it's just like not like right. And I am one of those guys saying, nobody else got caught, but I'm a firm believer that there was more than half the league cheating, whether it was in 2017 or 2016 or 2018, 2019, whatever it is, more than half the league has some type of cheating. And I'm not saying this just to like, you know, bring them in, but the Yankees and the Red Sox, both in the same year, cheated in 2017.
Well, I remember back when, but like long before the Astro scandal came out after the 2019 World Series, there was like a little thing where the after a Yankees Red Sox series, it came out that they were both using Apple Watches.
Yeah, it was.
But apparently,
now that I think about it,
so at that time, it wasn't against the rules because that was like when it kind of first became a thing, like, oh, we could use this. But both the Yankees and Red Sox were mutually using it against each other in the same series. And then the MLB was like, you can't do that. And then it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like that kind of was, yeah.
But the issue with that was the Red Sox and Yankees both got fined for it. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they ended up getting fined, I think like $500,000. But like, you know, that's nothing to a team. Like, it is something to a team.
And it wasn't one-sided. They were both using it against each other in the same series.
That's why I kind of don't like, when I talk about cheating scandals, like I don't really bring that up. Like you could talk about the Giants cheating where they, you know, they use the spotlight in center field, stuff like that. The Chicago White Sox, like blowing like a World Series just for money and stuff like that. I consider that somewhat of cheating. Like you're cheating the game of baseball. Like they're like actual like morality of baseball. You're cheating it out of the viewers that are watching. Like, so I put that in the same like category. But like there's seriously like decades of like different instances of teams cheating. Like the Indians had a system one time where like they had a spotlight in center field. The Giants did the same exact thing in one of their World Series games. They didn't do it all year, but they did it in one of the World Series games. And nothing happened to them. Nothing happened to the Indians when they were cheating. Obviously, stuff happened to the White Sox. We all know about the Black Sox scandal, people getting suspended. Unfortunately, Shoeless Joe Jackson getting suspended for doing literally nothing. He was the best player in the World Series on the team that was blowing it, and that's, you know, what happened. But nonetheless, he knew what was going on, too. So, you know, I take that, you know, with, like, you're also part responsibility. That's why I kind of blame Jose Altuve for the 2017 Astros. You're supposed to be the leader in the clubhouse, and you let this go on. You let practically, was Carlos Correa a rookie in 17, one rookie, or 16? Either way, it doesn't matter.
Correa 16, Bregman 17.
Okay, that's still like bad. Like you have Bregman, a rookie, and you're letting him cheat. Like you're not giving like a good mentality for future baseball. Because what is he gonna do? He's gonna bring it on to the next person. And I mean, they got caught, so they're not really gonna do it. So now there's like not as big as a reason to cheat, but still. You're putting in the mind of a rookie coming up. All he was innocent in the minor leagues. And then you just come into the majors and you allow this to happen. I understand Carlos Beltran was he was the senior in the Houston Astros. But who was the leader of that clubhouse?
Yeah, Altuve,
It was Altuve. Everybody listened to Altuve. If Altuve wanted something done, he got it done. And that's pretty much the end of the story for that. And the fact that he let it go on, like, it was the GM it was Cora, and it was Beltran. Those were the three main, people that did the whole thing. But the players were banging on cans for the teammates. So, like, Altuve, he obviously Beltran was the veteran of that clubhouse, but Altuve was the guy that you listened to. So Altuve didn't tell anybody to stop. He just said, "Don't do it for me." That's why I kind of partially blame him for it. But I don't think of him as a cheater when he plays. I really don't.
No, that's a fair point. Yeah, I've heard that side before.
He was gonna.
I still think Aaron Judge should have been MVP just because he was a better player that year. Yeah,
I mean, if we want, we could bring up the stats right there, but nobody needs to. I'm not talking about league, but he led the MVP race in home runs. He led it in.
His OPS was like 100 points higher than Altuve's that year.
Like OPS plus, like the list goes on. Slugging percentage, the list goes on. RBIs. The only thing Altuve had over him was batting average, maybe on base percentage.
Because he won the batting title that year.
Yeah. Like it's.
So you're gonna say single-handedly. No, I know you're not saying single-handedly, but you think that Jose Altuve would single-handedly stop everything that was going on in the clubhouse
over a young Houston Astros team? Yes.
So you say that
they were young. They were a young Houston Astros team. So yes, I do.
You say that he's at fault for it, considering
no. I don't think he's at fault for it happening. The three people that I blame is the GM, Alex Cora, and Carlos Beltran. Do I think AJ Hinch also is on the same level as Altuve? Yes. AJ Hinch, you're the manager of the clubhouse, so you also need to have control of it. But listen, everybody listened to Altuve, and Altuve only told, "Don't bang for me." That's a little bit of an issue. Like you don't do that. As a clubhouse leader, you're supposed to lead. Like you're supposed to set an example. If you're telling people, "Don't bang for me," like that's not good enough. You need to tell them, "Don't bang." Like we don't need to win. We don't need to cheat to win. Like we can win. Like we can do these 107 wins, right? The 2017 Astros had. Like we can win these 107 games without cheating. We can do this. Like you need to do that. Like if you're telling a rookie and a second-year player you need to cheat to win, that's not good. That's not good at all.
I don't think he was telling them that.
No, but he wasn't directly telling him that, but he was indirectly showing that.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't doing everything he could have done to stop it. But but there's no way that he in any way, shape, or form should even be debated whether or not he should get the blame any sort of blame for it.
No, he gets a little bit of blame. He does. He does. If you know about this, you know what? I even blame Mike Fiers for letting it happen. Like he was the whistleblower of the whole thing, but he has blame for it. He has blame for it. Absolutely. He doesn't even have any control, even over pitchers in that freaking matter. Like he has no control over anybody in that clubhouse, but the only thing that he did to stop it was talk about it in 2020. Like you don't do that. If you have a problem with it, you have to talk about it in the media right away. Obviously, you'd get looked down upon and you'd be looked at as a traitor in that very moment, but to me, that doesn't matter. If you had a problem with it, if you really...
You should have told the MLB that season.
You know what? And that's another thing. MLB is part of the blame. MLB is 100% part to blame for this because they knew that the Astros were cheating too. The Indians put in multiple reports that the Astros were cheating. Trevor Bauer knew that the Astros were cheating. He called it out. What was it? The 2018 year that it was going on, and the MLB did nothing about it. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The league knew that the Astros were cheating because
what Trevor Bauer did was Trevor Bauer said half the league is using spider tack and other chemical sources to make their rev rate go up and spin rate and make the balls harder to hit, and the MLB did nothing. And Trevor Bauer, being the guy he was at the time, he said, "Okay, if they're not going to stop it, I'll do it myself." So Trevor Bauer cheated in 2019 and 20 because he told them countless times in 2018 about other pitchers doing it and them not doing it. So I agree with Trevor Bauer and why he did it, because he felt, okay, no one's going to stop him. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. But what I'm talking about is the specifically 2017 Astros cheating scandal,
Okay,
not the spider tack. He made it apparent in 2020 that he knew what was going on, and he made multiple reports himself, not as a team with the Indians. The Indians made reports themselves, but him himself made a separate individual report to the Players Union to tell the MLB what was going on, and the MLB did nothing. The Dodgers made multiple reports. The Yankees and Red Sox made multiple reports. That game that was famous on John Boy Media with the White Sox, I forgot, Tanner or Tyler Farquhar, something like that. That player and the White Sox both made like reports of the Astros cheating, and the MLB did nothing. Did nothing. So I partially blame the MLB for it too. Like I shouldn't even say partially. I really blame the MLB for it, because if you have multiple teams putting in that a specific team is cheating and you're not going to do anything about it, you're not going to look at it at all until a player from that team that, I don't know about you guys, like has like no reason to even say like why like they were cheating. Like he has no relevancy to like anything. If you're going to listen to him in when did the cheating scandal come out? Like the end of 2019 or beginning of 2019?
It was right after the 2019 World Series.
Okay. So
like a week or two after.
Yeah. So if you're telling me that a random player on that team, and I will say random because Mike Fiers is not good. He was never good. He may have had like a good couple months stretch, but he was never a good pitcher. So if you're going to listen to a random pitcher on that team, and you're not going to listen to multiple different teams, that especially the Red Sox, White Sox, and Yankees, who play the Astros multiple times a year, if you're not going to listen to them, like that's an issue. That's like a really big issue. If teams, are putting in multiple complaints over and over and over again that a team is cheating, you need to put a stop to it. You need to look at this and like really like go over like the facts. You need to go over the video footage, and there is video footage. Listen, Mike Fiers was the reason this got broken, but the reason why this got really looked into was because of John Boy Media. I mean, am I wrong? He put out that video that really digged into it. He was the reason why the MLB really looked into it. And that's a guy that has no strings to baseball whatsoever. He just makes baseball videos. That's it. So,
he's a funny lip reading guy who does sports videos.
He's fucking hilarious. He's not even, besides his lip reading, have you ever just watched any of his podcasts?
He's very good.
He's fucking hilarious. He's so funny. I love his random stat facts, like stuff like that. Like, did you know Mike Trout has never had a base hit on a month that on a day of the month that was a 27 as his baseball number?
Wow, Jay.
Listen, that's just a random that's a random fact. Like that's just a random fact, but like that's seriously, like those are funny. Like random facts like that are funny.
Yeah.
So
he's okay. He's not bad.
He's funny. He's really funny. The only problem I have with him is he's a Yankee fan. That's it.
Is he really?
Oh, he's a huge Yankee fan.
I didn't know. I don't pay that much. I watch the videos on him.
Baseball doesn't exist. John Boy, Foolish Baseball, and I'm forgetting there's one more like channel that I watch a lot.
That's upsetting. I didn't know Foolish Baseball.
They're all Yankee fans?
No, just channels I watch a lot.
Oh, I thought you were saying.
And Urinating Tree.
No, I don't know who that is.
You don't know who the Urinating Tree is?
Everybody that you named
I'm sorry. I've never heard of the Urinating Tree.
Everybody you named off, I know, except for that last channel.
You don't know who the Urinating Tree is? You gotta look up the Urinating Tree.
Well, I have a guy. I know someone that I really like, but he's real. Obviously, a lot of people follow him. I think he has over 500,000 subs, if I'm not mistaken. He probably doesn't, but if I'm not mistaken, he has him. I Talk Studios. Huge Red Sox fan. Let me just start off with that.
Oh, Vinny, there's a Mets guy you would like, Giraffe Neck Mark.
Oh,
He
yeah.
does baseball.
Yo, I met him.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Yeah.
If you go to my Instagram page, ready? Hold on. The
Urinating tree. That's awesome.
in the middle row,
He
row 3 down, it's a photo of me and him. Literally the same exact attire I'm wearing right now. Red baseball jersey, red Sox jersey, and this hat. Like same exact, right here. See? It's me and him.
What's
Oh,
his
wow.
name?
Yeah.
You can't really see
Giraffe Neck Mark.
Giraffe Neck Mark, yeah.
He's a Met guy.
He's probably got probably about 100K subscribers or so.
218K, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
He's
urinating tree has the urinating tree has 507,000.
Yeah. Giraffe
You guys should know who that is.
I don't. Giraffe Neck Mark is he's very, very smart with his baseball, but at the same time he takes like a lot of weird takes, like a lot of bad ones. Like I think in 18 and
every year the Mets are winning the World Series.
I know.
Every
Like,
year.
that's every Met fan,
year.
though, isn't
Like,
that? That's every Met fan.
And the one problem that I do have with him is like he tries and seem unbiased, even though he's very biased. He'll go like this. He'll say, "Oh, and just so you know, I'm not like picking the Mets side. Like the Yankees will make the World Series too. They'll just lose to the Mets." I love Giraffe Neck Mark. I really do. I love him. I love him to death. I watch a lot of his videos, and I really watch his 12 days of ranking videos, where like he ranks like different things in baseball, specifically the player rankings. But like, just sometimes his videos, like I can't watch. And it's the same thing with Fuzzy. You guys know Fuzzy too? Like they're best friends. Fuzzy, a lot of his videos I can't watch either.
So I used to watch both of them a lot, and then I think their content just got old to me, so I don't really watch either of them anymore. But because they post every single day and it's kind of just the same shit all the time versus, Foolish Baseball and
they really
and baseball
their videos.
And baseball doesn't exist. They only do like one video a month, but it's like once their video comes out, it's like I'm watching it no matter what I'm doing.
Run to it, every single time. And
versus Giraffe Neck Mark, I used to watch his video. He would post 1 to 2 videos a day, and then it just got like so old to me. Like I just don't watch him anymore for that reason.
You watch Made the Cut?
Who?
Made the Cut.
I've seen some of that stuff.
He posts a lot too. He posts like 5 minutes of Anthony Rizzo being Anthony Rizzo. Like 22 minutes of Max Scherzer.
I know what you're talking about.
I've never seen this channel before.
I've seen it. I'll check. I might
even have to subscribe. It's so awesome. It's everything. It's literally everything. Like it's so all around good. Like
look.
Yeah,
I'm subbed.
Yeah, for sure. And he has a lot of old stuff on here from like a while ago. It's really, really good too. Like really good stuff.
Yeah,
you guys gotta check out the urinating tree though. That guy is hilarious. That guy is funny.
Urinating tree.
I'm just gonna.
That's awesome. That's so awesome, dude.
Okay.
The last title of his last video, I haven't seen it yet, but it's called "The Overtime Anus Clenching Shit Extravaganza."
Nice. All right. So look, this is the guy that I was talking about. This is I Talk Studios. Obviously, he's a Red Sox fan. He has, Fenway. But like the videos that he has, like the Angels are a mess, the abandoned player turned icon, like this video right here, like just because it's like Ortiz, like this is the video that I really, really enjoyed the most. But this right here was like a tremendously good video because like he really was abandoned. Like the Twins abandoned him because they didn't want to pay him a lot of money, and then the Red Sox picked him up. And the only reason why the Red Sox picked him up was because of Pedro Martinez. So not only did Pedro Martinez,
that's awesome. I gotta watch that.
Not only did Pedro Martinez benefit the club with his pitching, but his eyes too. He told the Red Sox, he was like, guys, listen, or I think it was the GM at the time. It's like, listen, take a look at this guy. The Red Sox had already had two good prospects in their farm system, and plus they already had a first baseman. So to put another first baseman in their farm system, like really think, like give him like the opportunity, was insane. And then they gave him the opportunity. He made the team from spring training, and he, David Ortiz took off from there. Like, 3-time World Series champion, a World Series MVP, a playoff MVP, like stuff like that. One of the clutchest hitters in baseball history.
Yeah, I know.
He
was also a doubles hitter too, not just a home run guy.
Oh
and
yeah,
a home run guy.
And for a slow guy too, a really slow guy, he was a doubles hitter because he knew how to hit the ball into the gap of right field and center field.
But
you put the ball into that gap, you're almost guaranteed a double. Like you have to be legitimately a walk. Like you have to walk to second base to get out for hitting a ball into that gap.
And Ortiz was primarily just a DH, correct? He was.
No, he played first base sometimes. Yeah, like he didn't really play first base when he played at, in the American League. But when when they were in the National League, the only place they could throw him was first base.
Yeah.
He didn't DH for the Twins either. He was a first baseman for the Twins. It wasn't until he got brought to the Red Sox where they were like, "Listen, you got to DH." Like,
that's why it's so hard for me to like. I'm not saying Ortiz's legacy is less because he's a DH. Is that I'm not saying that. Me personally, like I said, I want the National League to have a DH. I personally am just more of a fan of guys who play the field well and can hit well, or guys who play the field well and hit decently. To be honest, it's just harder for me to appreciate a legacy of somebody who's just strictly a DH for most of his career.
No, I don't necessarily disagree with you because, they only play typically half the game. They really do. And I'm a huge fan of defensive players because I couldn't hit for shit. So I really appreciate.
Well, another thing is that you have to play the field 9 innings and get 4 at bats versus a guy who only hits. He's always like fresh in a way because he didn't just come off the field at any point. He hits, goes back to the bench, and he's on the bench 98% of the game other than his 4 at bats.
He really gets to take a look at film a lot more than what somebody who, just goes out and plays the field. Like he can actually take the time without worrying, do I have to rush back to the field to go play because it was a 3-pitch inning? He can actually look at the film, see what he did wrong. He could do what JD Martinez does. JD Martinez looks at film. I don't know if he strictly bases his 2017, 2018 campaign off of looking at film. And he was good in 2019. He wasn't the best. He was not the best, but he was good in 2019. And then if you notice, remember when they cracked down on film? Like you weren't allowed to look at film during game play because of the 2017 Astros and the 2018 Red Sox. Like, do you guys remember that? Yeah, in 2020, they banned looking at film during game. You weren't allowed to look at film. So what happened was JD Martinez fell off a cliff. Like in 2020, he was not good. He was not good in 2020. So when 2021 came back around, he was doing, he was better. He wasn't back to 2017, 2018, 2019 JD, but he was not 2020 JD. He was better than he was before. Why? Because he was able to go back and look at film. So a lot of DHs, they strictly go back and look at film. That's just that's what a lot of them do. So
something that a position player wouldn't have the option to do.
Yeah, they can go look at film, but they can't really look at film because they have to worry about rushing back to the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially an outfielder. They have to, like a first baseman, not a first baseman, especially, or even a catcher. Like a catcher, he doesn't have to go out and warm his pitcher up. As long as it's the first inning and he already got through the first inning warming the pitcher up, somebody else can just go out there and warm the pitcher up. Like that happens a lot. Like you notice that, like even at the big league level, like I know I've done a hefty amount of sitting on a bucket and catching a pitcher on the mound, like warming up before a game. So it's nothing new. Like this happens in Major League Baseball too. Like someone will go out, throw a face mask on, and then just catch a pitcher throwing fastballs. He won't throw 100. He'll throw, 85, 90, but he's warming his arm up for the inning. So,
no disrespect whatsoever, of course, to any DH who obviously solidified himself as a baseball legend. I would never take anything away from anyone like David Ortiz for being fantastic. I'm just saying, personally, that's just my preference to appreciate more of somebody who's literally, playing 100% of the game and not 50% of the game. I don't want to get hate
No,
for this.
it's
I'm not
okay.
hating on Ortiz at all. Big Bobby's a legend. I love him, and I think he's awesome. I just prefer overall in general great defensive players
Yeah.
over great offensive players. It's just my bias. It's just what I like to watch. I like flashy gloves. I like flashy plays. I like defense. Defense wins games. That's just me. A guy who you can't throw him anywhere in the field because he won't perform, not my cup of tea. Not my
I
wheelhouse at that
I
conversation.
completely agree with you, and that's why I know that's the reason why I knew David Ortiz would not be a unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
That's why I knew he wouldn't be. Do I think he even deserves it? No. I mean,
What,
actually,
really?
yes, I think he deserves unanimous, and I'll tell you why. Because I believe anybody that is a guaranteed Hall of Famer, like guaranteed Hall of Famer, should be a unanimous like first ballot. Like everybody should be like something like that. I believe Derek Jeter is a Hall of Famer. I think his fielding was bad. I really do. But does his offense take away from that? No. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I think Derek Jeter is a Hall of Famer. So he should have been a guaranteed unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer. Mariano Rivera, he was the first ever and only.
So I actually have an interesting take on this. So Mariano Rivera is my favorite player of all time.
Not mine.
I was shocked he was unanimous Hall of Famer because
I was shocked too.
Because relievers, a lot of old school voters, I thought Jeter would be a unanimous Hall of Famer because I figured who wouldn't vote for Jeter. But I did not think Mariano would be. I didn't think Mariano would get above 90% because a lot of old school voters, they think a guy who pitches one inning a game is not a Hall of Famer because they have the easiest job in the sense that they come into a game with the lead and they just have to keep the lead versus somebody who pitches the whole game and their job is to maintain the game. And that's why guys like Billy Wagner and Trevor Hoffman and the second and third best relievers all time are either not yet in the Hall of Fame or it took them like Trevor Hoffman, the second best reliever all time. He didn't make it to his third ballot. So I didn't think Mariano would make it. I knew he would be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I thought he would cap it like 90% because the guys who didn't vote for Trevor Hoffman also wouldn't vote for Rivera. That's why I have Billy Wagner on my ballot because I think he's the third best reliever ever, and there's no reason he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. And he's on his fifth or sixth ballot now. And so when I heard Rivera got unanimous, I was shocked. And that's coming from someone who loved Rivera and my favorite player. Well, obviously, I would have voted for Rivera first ballot, but I figured there's no way Rivera gets first ballot because people don't like relievers, even if he is the best all time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's not my favorite player of all time. I respect Mariano Rivera and I respect Jeter. I think Jeter deserved unanimous. I really do. I think any player that is a guaranteed Hall of Famer, a lot of people, and I liked something that I saw on Instagram where you should set like a certain thing. Like if someone has 500 career home runs, like you should be a Hall of Famer. Somebody has a career
3,000
batting
hits.
Ridiculous.
3,000 hits. You have 3,000 hits, guaranteed Hall of Fame. You don't even need to be put on.
3,000 hits, maybe 500 home runs. No way.
I'd say 500. Not many people.
I would say 500.
Yeah.
I know, but home runs to me.
Or if you have over a certain amount of RBIs. If you have
better.
And I'm not talking
like
about
1,500 RBIs.
And listen, also same thing. Like I'm not talking about percentage either. If you bat like 370, but like you only played like 12 years of your career and you only have like 1,700 home runs, that doesn't count. Your percentage doesn't mean anything to me either. And same thing with WAR. I don't think if you have like the second highest WAR, like I don't think like that guarantees you a spot either. I put WAR in percentages also. So like, if you have a certain amount of RBIs, you're Hall of Famer. Certain amount of home runs, Hall of Famer. Certain amount of like this, that, stuff like that. Like if you're the only person to do this, but like it has to be like a really good thing. Like if you're the only person like with this many home runs, this many stolen bases, this many doubles, like stuff like that, like that, stuff like that, that's Hall of Fame worthy. You shouldn't even be placed on the list. If you have the lowest ERA as a reliever in history, guaranteed. Like, and I know that's somewhat of a percentage, but at the same time, that's a crazy stat to have. Like,
Yeah.
so, like, it's really a crazy stat to have. Like, so that's just my personal like thing. Like, I think certain people don't even deserve to be placed on a ballot. Like, that's unworthy. Like, they're not even worthy. Like, and not saying like they're worthy to be on a ballot. Like, that's like they're worthy to be on a ballot, but like they're even more worthy to like not even be placed on the ballot and just skip straight to the Hall of Fame. Like, after their 6 years of waiting is up, like just straight to the Hall of Fame. Like, I believe that with Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter, what, second all time in hits or third all time in hits?
No.
No? Oh, wait, no, sixth. He's sixth.
So that sounds better. Yeah.
All right, he's sixth all time in
Sixth.
hits.
Yeah.
Something like that. I'm sorry, that's insane. I don't care how bad your defense is. That's still pretty insane.
Of course,
Like,
that should get you in the Hall of Fame no matter what.
Yeah.
But what you were saying before, like somebody say you come up to bat, the bases loaded, 2 outs, and you are notorious for drawing a walk, hitting a ground ball that gets between second and short, and driving 2 runs, drawing a walk, or just simply hitting a single, and you are notorious. There's no way you're going to hit a grand slam, right? Whereas your cleanup hitter comes up, who's a 40, 45 home run guy every year. He's either home run or strike out. There's a very small chance he's going to draw a walk. Like, I validate much more the first guy over the second guy. You seem to discredit somebody who is not a career home run hitter.
No, yes.
That's not right.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but just the broad like spectrum of like what you really should like be as a Hall of Famer, like a lot of it is like really like crazy, because if you look at guys like Ken Griffey Jr., like those guys are like unanimous Hall of Famers. Ken Griffey Jr. unanimous. Babe Ruth unanimous. Like, I don't care like how bad the playing level was 100 years ago. Those players still did stuff that other players in their same league had the same exact opportunity to do, couldn't do. Like, there are people that like Babe Ruth is what, one of 2 players with 700 home runs, or 3?
3.
3. Okay. So, and he did that with a playing level where like you could hit home runs. Like, anybody could hit a home run like there. Like, so the fact that Ruth was the only one to do it that much is just
Ruth was the first person to 700. Ruth was like the first person to like 400, 500, 600, and 700.
Now he's not the only one, but like still, like it's still an insane thing to think about and have. Anyway, well, Jesus, guys, it's already 1 a.m.
When Ruth retired with 714, he was obviously first. But I'm looking at it now. Jamie Foxx with 534 is the only person to play either in his era or like around his era. So it's like, and he's 19th. And then Ted Williams was later on.
Yeah,
Lou
Ted
Gehrig,
Williams didn't
who was
start.
29th. Lou Gehrig played in Babe Ruth's era. Obviously, they were teammates for almost 20, or 15 years rather. But it's like, again, it's like him, Jamie Foxx, and then that's like a 300 home run difference or 200 home run difference. So Babe Ruth, he was hitting home runs at the pace that he has when nobody else was.
Yeah.
Because he had more home runs than when the year he hit 60 homers, he had more home runs than every other team.
Babe Ruth is just so good. Like, I understand like saying how Babe Ruth would never be as good as like the average baseball player now, because he wouldn't. He can't. He would never.
No, not at all.
Like I honestly like don't even think he'd be able to hit at a varsity level. Like not even like junior. Like he couldn't. Like there's no way he could. But to like even mention the fact that just because he played back then discredits how good he was, that's something that no real baseball fan would even.
He revolutionized the game for what is today.
Like Babe Ruth will, even as a Red Sox fan, like the fact that we traded him away for literally I don't know if you guys heard the story. I won't get into it just because we kind of got to wrap things up, but I could tell you about it next time, like next podcast. I don't know if you heard the story, but we practically traded Babe Ruth away for a theater show.
Yeah.
It's so
because I mean, general, it was a quick story. Like the Red Sox owner, he wanted to have shows, and he was in debt from his shows, and so we traded him for $100,000 so he could pay off the debt for his old shows and do more of them.
Yep, it's just not. It just wasn't good. But you know what? Even as a Red Sox fan,
wait, was that the same owner? That was the same owner who built Fenway Park, right?
Yep. Yeah.
the guy was just a nut job.
Oh yeah, he was a big nut job. But
I don't know, man. I mean, you wouldn't see Hulk Hogan doing what these guys nowadays are doing. You watch wrestling?
I mean, I used to. I don't anymore. I haven't watched since like the draft in like 16 or 17.
Yeah, these guys, Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, they'll out wrestle Hulk Hogan a million times over.
Yeah, I know.
But Hulk Hogan revolutionized it. The Rock, they revolutionized it. But if Hulk Hogan and The Rock were brought up in an age of wrestling, in a modern age of wrestling, there's, needless to say, chances are maybe they would have adapted to the modern age of wrestling, because that's the age that they would be playing in. Right? So Babe Ruth, if he were to grow up, or if he were to develop in the modern age of baseball, chances are he would have adapted to the modern age of baseball, because baseball fundamentals are there.
No, there's a difference.
Listen, what Babe Ruth did.
There's a difference between wrestling. Listen, and I'm not knocking the sport of wrestling, okay? Because as a kid, listen, as a kid, seriously, I'm not joking. As a kid, I watched more wrestling than baseball.
Oh, same with me. Yeah, I love WWE. I watched every SmackDown, yeah.
So I'm not dissing like wrestling. Wrestling was a really big part of my childhood. But there's a difference between baseball and wrestling. Okay? Like if you're talking about like NCAA Division I type wrestling and baseball, I can understand like that similarity in talking about it. But like, yeah, like if you're talking like if you would just simulate like a wrestling match and it was like real and stuff like that, like how WWE does it, but like it was real instead of scripted, and you take that and you have them wrestle, I agree. I 100% agree. Seth Rollins would like be able to do walkarounds on Hulk Hogan. I do. But if you take Babe Ruth and you put him and you give him however long he wants, he can literally be immortal. He could take his whole, like, however many years, whatever, and you throw him in baseball right now, he wouldn't even be able to touch a fastball. There's no way. He never saw fastballs above 9, like not even 90. Like
Walter Johnson threw 90, and that was like a crazy number.
Yeah. Like one guy throwing 90, like that's insane. Like he would never be able to touch a Degrom fastball. Not only does Degrom throw 103, like it's nothing, but he also has movement on his fastballs. And not only that, like if you just throw him strictly fastballs, I'm sure eventually he'll be able to catch up to one. But if you have Jacob Degrom pitch to him like he's a regular like batter, he'd not be able to tell when that slider's coming. He wouldn't be able to tell when that crazy curve's coming. Like,
but that's that's if you're taking Babe Ruth almost a century ago, and
he wouldn't be able to adapt to it.
2021 Jacob Degrom. I mean, if Babe Ruth with the same baseball fundamentals, same baseball IQ, same baseball ability were to be raised, developed, and everything in this era,
still not, because he wasn't an athlete. He wasn't.
But yeah,
he was not an athlete. He was not an athlete.
I'm not arguing I'm not arguing pro Babe Ruth. I don't care about Babe Ruth. I don't care about all these old schoolers. I don't care about any stat before I don't care. I just don't. I like baseball the way it is. Listen, I would rather watch Juan Pierre bunt than Shohei Ohtani swing the bat. I don't care.
Bunting.
It's true. It's true.
Imagine
I don't
bunting.
care. I really, really don't care.
You know what, Vinny? You know what I'm gonna buy for your wedding gift?
What?
I'm gonna buy you a shirt that says "Steps on how to bunt." One.
Yeah, I know. Number one, go. Number two, hit a dinger. So funny. I know. I've seen it, and it made me throw up in my mouth when I saw it.
I'm gonna buy you a chain. I'm gonna buy you a chain that says "Dingers" on it.
No.
Dingers for days.
Coach says to bump, but I still hit dingers.
The way baseball has come is disgusting.
Coach.
But that's what I'm saying. What I mean is I don't care about these guys. These Babe Ruth guys. That shit, I don't care about that shit. It doesn't impress me in 2020, 2022. If I'm looking at stats, I'm not gonna look up Babe Ruth. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be impressed by Babe Ruth, something that happened a century ago. You know, before my grandfather.
If you compare him to
the
other
goddamn war. I don't care.
Listen,
You know, my great grandfather. I don't care. I don't. I really don't. I'm not defending Babe Ruth. I'm just calling out something about like I'm just questioning the logic behind the argument. That's why I'm arguing that Babe
killing
Ruth
me
is
here,
probably
man.
different.
You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me.
The point we're trying to make is just that professional sports 100 years ago is not at the level it is today. So like I could probably like if you put me in the 1920s, I could probably be an NFL lineman because I'm bigger than half of NFL linemen of that era.
Jenny, you're killing. Listen. I'll tell you why you're killing me. Okay, because listen, I understand what you're saying. I really do. But if Babe Ruth was doing things that nobody was doing in his time, like if we look at what Jacob Degrom, I'll even put this in example. Okay, if we look at what Jacob Degrom's doing right now, he had a 1.04 ERA this year for what he had. That's unheard of what's going on. Like, that's unheard of. Same thing with having 60 home runs in one season. It's unheard of. Listen, you're going to have grandkids one day, okay? You're going to have grandkids one day, and they're going to love baseball, and they're going to tell you, why was Jacob Degrom so good? This player is doing exactly what Jacob Degrom could do, except he's throwing 107 because he has a bionic arm. Like, listen, these people, they're going to be doing what Jacob Degrom does, but better. And they're going to say, why was Jacob Degrom good? And you're going to explain to him why he was good. We don't have that. We don't have people that can explain why Babe Ruth was good. We don't have that, okay? Instead, we have, a couple people before Babe Ruth's time explaining, okay? So we have to appreciate what we have, obviously, but we have to appreciate that Babe Ruth.
Like my grandparents can, like my grandfather can tell me why Mantle was great, but he can't tell me why Ruth or DiMaggio was great because that was before his era.
We have to appreciate why 60 home runs in one season, what at his level is good. Like, yeah, you put him in our lifetime right now, he's not adapting. He's not adapting.
He's not hitting 60 home runs.
During the MLB season, Vinny, I don't know if you knew this, but he used to just sit like in the dugout. Like if he was not up to bat, even during the field, he'd have alcohol in his like inside pocket. Like he used to design his jersey to have an inside pocket so he can have alcohol in there and he'd drink it on the field when in between batters.
The culture was different back then, obviously.
Like, listen, he'd drink like all the time. He'd play baseball drunk, and yeah, he'd still sit there and hit 60 dingers in a season.
Yeah, I know. It's funny that we're having this conversation because I care about Babe Ruth the absolute least out of all of us here, and I find myself somehow defending him. I don't care, but I don't care about Babe Ruth.
That's the thing. You should care about him.
I would care about Juan Pierre more.
As a baseball fan, you should understand without Babe Ruth, baseball isn't what it is today.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you the serious question.
I'm a Tim LaCash.
Hold on. Let me ask you the serious question right now, because this honestly will determine a lot. Okay, it will determine a lot. Is Babe Ruth on like your Mount Rushmore of baseball?
No.
Oh my god! Oh my god, Vinny, what?
because I don't care about
Are you
baseball.
telling me that you're gonna listen? Listen. At the end of Tim LeCastre's career, are you gonna put him over Babe Ruth on Mount
No,
Rushmore?
I'm gonna have Juan Pierre,
No.
Juan
Just
Castro,
listen. Hear me out. If
Willie
you
Tavares,
listen, hear me
and
out. Hear me out.
who's the other guy?
Hear me
What?
out. Okay.
Go ahead.
If it came down to you finally, okay, and you only were able to choose between Ruth and Tim LeCastro, who are you putting on Mount Rushmore?
Ruth.
Okay. All right. That's a little bit better. That's a little bit better.
You don't think Ruth is one of the 4 best baseball players of all time? Like, we're not saying.
No, you know what? They don't
I
even
don't-
have to be. No, you don't even have to be the best. One of the best baseball players of all time. You just have to have so much of an impact
Legacy.
on baseball.
Yeah.
It's about legacy. It's not about.
That-
Hey,
that's
His
even better.
legacy put a lot on baseball. Listen,
know.
I
No,
don't
no.
think.
Here's
Listen, if you go,
like, I don't think Ruth is. Out of every person to ever play MLB baseball ever, he's definitely not one of the 4 most talented guys. But he was one of the 4 best baseball players of his era compared to any player in their era.
Well,
if
he
you
was
take
the
every
best
player from the
baseball player
history,
of his era.
you know what I'm saying? If you take every baseball player in the history of time, Babe Ruth is definitely one of the 4 best baseball players ever.
But to me, it's hard to figure out a Mount Rushmore of baseball as a whole because you have your best hitters, you have your best pitchers, and
Just hitters. Your 4 best hitters.
If you do
4 best hitters all time.
Listen, I have it right here. Okay, if you're going based on this, okay, I'm gonna have Ruth just because of his legacy. Now, I really like saying this, but if we're gonna go based on his like his baseball play, then I'm gonna keep Ruth. I'm gonna have Ted Williams. Ted Williams joins
Yeah,
the
I
Mount
agree.
Rushmore.
Yeah, I agree.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Pete Rose and Barry Bonds. Those are my Mount Rushmore of baseball. If you're going based on play, but if you're going based on legacy, I go Ruth. I don't go Williams. I don't think he had that big of a legacy as these other guys. So I'm going Ruth, Jackie Robinson. Okay. I'm gonna go. I'm not going Willie Mays. I'm going Hank Aaron.
he hit enough home runs for you.
No, he didn't.
Sorry.
Jackie Robinson didn't even have 200 career home runs.
Probably not.
What's the Jackie Robinson? Is that because of like the whole
his legacy.
Oh, legacy.
That's his
Legacy.
legacy. That's his legacy.
Yeah.
The legacy that he has on baseball.
that just doesn't cut it for me.
It does for me. He has a day after him. Like, you don't just randomly have a day named after, for you. Like, every player in baseball wears number 42 specifically for you. Like,
Yes.
that's I'm sorry. Like, that's something that is Mount Rushmore of baseball, worthy. So I have Ruth, I have Robinson, I have Aaron, and this is tough to actually think about now.
Does Lou Gehrig go on there at all?
Lou Gehrig, probably, because I can't really think of the top everybody else. His legacy is big just because of his obviously his disability that ended up ending his career.
Ty Cobb. Ty Cobb up there?
Ty Cobb would be there, but I think Gehrig is higher than Cobb. So,
Tony Gwynn.
Tony Gwynn is also up there, but I don't think he's any of the 4. He wouldn't make the 4. He wouldn't make the
He's
list.
got to be one of the best hitters of all time.
I understand that, but I'm talking about legacy right now.
It's just roles, man. It's just the roles of the guys in the field that.
I understand that. If you ask me, Jackie Robinson, barely even cuts the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Based on his stat line. He barely cuts the Hall of Fame. But you know what? He has a day for him. Every single baseball team has the number retired for him. He was the gateway to allowing African Americans into baseball. That's just legacy at its own. That legacy right there is arguably higher than any legacy in any baseball player combined. It's
that's respectable. That's completely respectable.
That's why I put him on there. But if you talk about hitter, I don't even have Jackie Robinson anywhere close to making the Hall of Mount Rushmore Hall of Fame. Mount Rushmore of the Hall of Fame. Mount Rushmore of baseball. So, it's just there's little things. If you talk about pitchers, if you talk about pitchers, obviously Cy Young. You have to. That's the award's named after him.
Yeah.
Cy Young, and then
Ed Walsh, Walter Johnson,
Walter Johnson,
Ed Walsh, and Christy Mathewson.
I have no idea who Ed Walsh is. Read me his stat line.
He is the lowest ERA of all time.
Okay, all right.
1.82.
Yeah, in fucking 1778, bro. Well, we was barely a country when this guy was pitching.
1904
we were fighting
to
the war of
1917.
1812. We were fighting the war of 1812, and Ed fucking Walsh was striking out your great 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 grandfather. Like, I give a fuck. Really?
Okay, so Ed Walsh, he started 315 games and he has 250 complete games.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right. Well, I really have to really go through it, but I don't put Ed Walsh.
Like Bugs Bunny.
Christy Mathewson?
For me personally, like, if I'm not going based on like talent wise, I'm going based on like who I really like have the impact of the game on. Okay. So now that I think about it, I'm not putting Walter on there. I don't, because not many people even know about him. Not many people know about him. So I'm gonna
Ryan.
I'm gonna go Nolan Ryan. I'm gonna go obviously Cy Young. Cy Young was already on there. So Cy Young, Nolan Ryan, Randy Johnson.
Yeah, Randy Johnson.
How many people have hit a bird throwing a pitch? Okay, and not even that. A lot of people like to recreate him. Why do you think Chris Sale pitches how he is? Have you ever noticed? Have you ever put two and two together?
No.
Look at Chris Sale's windup. Look at Randy Johnson's windup.
Greg Maddux.
And Greg Maddux. Yep. That's it. Greg Maddux.
So, like I'm saying, so I think hitters are very easy to put together because if you look at the best hitters of every generation, they all have very similar stat lines. Obviously, home runs go up with time, but outside of that, OPS is very similar. Pitchers is very hard to judge because pitching today has a much different criteria for what makes you the best. So it's like, if you look at strikeouts, everybody's new. If you look at innings pitched in ERA, everybody's in black and white. So how do you compare the best? How do you compare ERA from now to 100 years ago, innings pitched now to 100 years ago, and strikeouts? So with pitching, you really have to say, okay, who was the best of this generation, and that's how you can probably put together the Mount Rushmore of pitching. So if I had to do it, I would obviously go Cy Young, I would go Walter Johnson, Nolan Ryan, and again, I want to say Christy Mathewson, but he was in between Cy Young and Walter Johnson, so he doesn't. Even though he's top 4 of that era, I don't think he's top 4 all time. But then you could also go Clayton Kershaw because he's the best of the 21st century.
You know what? I have a problem with Nolan Ryan.
Because he walked too many guys?
I just don't think Nolan Ryan is like this tremendously great pitcher that everybody sees him as. I think Tom Seaver's better than Nolan Ryan. I really do. I think Tom Seaver's better than Nolan Ryan. I think Clayton Kershaw was better than Nolan Ryan. I think Randy Johnson was better than Nolan Ryan. I can like list off players. Like, I just personally don't think Nolan Ryan was this great like top 5, top 3 pitcher of all time. I really just don't. A lot of people look at Nolan Ryan like he might be like a lot of people. I've heard this argument before. I don't know if you guys have, but I've heard this argument before. A lot of people have said, let's put Nolan Ryan as the new Cy Young Award. Like, have you guys heard that like before? Like,
I don't know.
No, but
just because of his no hitters. Like, and I understand, like, he'd have a lot more no hitters if he didn't have like one hitters. He's had a lot more one hitters than no hitters.
And 2 hitters and
like he's had a lot more of those than no hitters, and he's had 7 no hitters. Listen, I'm not knocking the guy. He has like a lot of great like stat lines, but I can't. Like, I really can't.
With me, it's the 5,700 strikeouts. It's almost 1,000 more than Nolan Ryan and than Randy Johnson's.
Listen, I understand. Like, I really like, and once again, we go back into that area where strikeouts were just not a thing. Like, he struck out 5,000 batters in a time frame where strikeouts weren't a thing. I understand that.
Nolan Ryan has 5,700. Randy Johnson is second with 48. So it's over 900 strikeouts more.
Now, what's his ERA?
It's not great because he had really bad years in the beginning and end of his career. So it's 3.19.
Yeah.
It's good.
Listen,
It's
that's
great,
good.
but it's not top. It's not. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
What's his ERA plus?
That's going to be a little bit harder to find.
That shouldn't be that hard. Just go to Baseball Reference.
Not hard. Yeah, no, I'm just saying. I just have to go.
Yeah, and then tell me his. And then tell me. I don't know. Tell me his FIP. I think they have FIP for him too. Vinny's looking at us like, yeah, go ahead, talk about the advanced stats, even though they're not that advanced.
ERA plus was 112.
Yeah. No.
That's
Listen, that's terrible. That's so bad. That you're telling me that he's only 12 above like that, like
league average.
I'm sorry. If you go based just on that, I guarantee you, Nolan Ryan, I don't think he's top 50 in pitchers.
Probably not.
Or not even 100 or 150. So listen, I don't put Nolan Ryan anywhere near the Mount Rushmore. Obviously, like you talk about, like if you're gonna go based on legacy, yeah, maybe, because a lot of people I've heard talked about putting him as the new Cy Young Award because of his strikeout record, and that's completely insane. The fact that he has 5,000 strikeouts and over 900 more than the second place person?
Yeah, it's about 900 more than Randy Johnson.
That's insane.
Okay, so 112 is ranked 302.
Yeah. That's insane. That's
but that includes relievers too, though.
Okay, well then, I really don't know exactly how many relievers would.
But that's an average, so it brings credibility to every pitcher.
ERA plus evens out the levels field based on.
Yeah.
I know.
Errors.
I know what ERA plus is. Thank you, though.
Okay.
I'm saying.
Sorry, Mr. I like RBIs.
It's not something like RBIs or strikeouts that you build up every year of your career.
Yeah.
It's not WAR. It's essentially an average.
Yes.
Yeah. So it works for every pitcher, whether you're a damn closer or whether you're a starter.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
one thing that I mean, we're not. I just want to go back to this real quick. I mean, to be honest, if you ask me, when it comes to hitting, I'm not saying he should be on the Mount Rushmore of hitting, but I mean, he should at least be considered. Ichiro, to me, was one of the greatest baseball players of all time. Statistically,
I don't know.
When it comes to baseball IQ, he's probably one of my favorite players of all time.
If you go based on baseball IQ, then he's probably number one on the list.
He didn't hit home runs, so I know you guys.
He could. Have you ever seen that video?
Hell yeah, he could.
Ichiro Suzuki, if he wanted to hit a dinger, he was hitting the dinger.
Absolutely. He was just a smart hitter. He didn't need to. Like these guys nowadays who think that's the only way they're going to get big contracts.
It's honestly the truth.
Disgusting.
If someone's hitting for average versus someone who's hitting around 45 home runs a year, they're giving the bigger pay to the 45 home run guy. Now, am I saying that they deserve it more or anything? Is it going to bring more value? It all depends, because you have to really look at all of it. Like, you can't just look at the home runs, because if the guy's batting 100 and hitting 45 home runs compared to a guy that's hitting 300 and is only hitting 20, you're going to give the contract to that guy over the 45 home run guy.
Yeah.
But, you have to look at more. But typically, a guy who's hitting 45 home runs won't bat 100.
This is why I like OPS. It takes into account what your batting average, so how often you get on base when you get the hits, but also what you're doing when you get on base. So
and also,
it takes into account double.
Batting average is not a good stat. It's just not.
No,
it's not
OPS takes into account what you do and how you do it.
Now, I know, Vinny, I'm not saying this as a knock. I know you love batting average. But listen, I'm just gonna
batting average dog.
Listen, batting average is not a good stat. And listen, I think I'm gonna close it up after this. Vinny, you can say what you want about batting average, because I don't want to leave you in the dust about it. Okay, but batting average is not a good stat, and here's why. Okay, would you rather? Now, if you're looking strictly at batting average, okay, would you rather, let's say, have someone who's batting 280, okay? 280, and he hits multiple doubles. Like he has multiple, like I'm talking like a lot. Like he has a lot of like
40 doubles, 30
yeah,
homers.
like stuff like that. But like he bats like 240, okay? Versus someone who bats 320, 330, okay? And really only hits singles.
It depends on the role. I want both on my team.
No, you only can have one. They're both
Okay,
are both shortstops, okay?
but that do I need a leadoff hitter or do I need a cleanup hitter on my team?
No, like that. The fact that you're even arguing it like that is like terrible because a
No,
guy.
that's how it works.
Listen. No,
That's
it
how
doesn't.
it
No,
works.
it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
That's how it works for me.
Okay, but listen.
And I know everything, so that's how it works for me.
All right. Well. All right. You kind of handcuffing me with that
No,
argument.
but I'm not saying like it just works for me. I'm saying logically speaking, if the Mets, and I say the Mets because they're my favorite team and they're always the first thing that pops into my head, the Mets have a Pete Alonso on their team and they need a leadoff hitter. Say that there was no Brandon Nimmo and they needed a Starling Marte. There was no Jeff McNeil and they needed a Starling Marte as opposed to a potential, and he's a center fielder. But what they could do is sign somebody else who's going to hit nothing but home runs. Or, for example, I don't know, who's a big home run hitter that strikes out a lot that hits 230?
Stanton, Judge,
Sure.
Gallo.
Yeah.
Those are
Sure.
three Yankees there.
You go all the way. You go
JD
right
Martinez.
For the Yankees. I try to avoid going right for the Yankees. But yeah,
Sorry,
right
JD Martinez. Peter Alonso does it. I mean,
but Judge is not even a good example because Judge is actually a good all-around player.
yeah,
Stanton
that's true.
is
Sorry,
not a good all-around player.
Andrew.
He's not in his prime. Stanton, for example, Stanton's good. Do I need a Stanton? Do I have a right fielder? Do I have a DH? Whatever the case
He's a
may
left
be.
fielder.
I need a center fielder. Someone who's going to get on base. Someone who's going to steal bases.
He's a left fielder.
Pop to my team. I'm going to look at experience. I'm going to look at that all around, what they can do all around, obviously. Because I know you want me to say, I'm definitely going to sign the guy who hits 45 home runs because he's big and strong. And he probably drives in more runs than the other guy, even though he's hitting 200.
All right, let me put it this way. Okay, let me put it this way. All right, without looking at any outside factor.
Yeah.
Looking directly at this, okay? Directly at this.
Everything else equal. Everything else equal.
Literally everything else is equal, but what we just told you, where he only hits singles, but he bats 330. I'll even give you 350, okay? 350. He bats 350.
Okay.
And I'm not saying only hit singles, probably like 2 home runs, but like, he gets doubles here and there. But he mainly hits singles. Like 90% of his hits are singles, okay?
Yeah, maybe an Adam Frazier, Juan Pierre.
But then you get a guy, what I described, that's 240, 250, 240, 250, around that range. Multiple doubles, multiple home runs. You know what Andrew said. What did you say? 40,
like 40, yeah.
Yeah, 40 doubles, 30 home runs a year, okay? That's 240, 250. Versus a guy who hits, like 5 home runs a year, like 15 doubles a year, and then like the 90% of his hits are singles. Okay.
How many RBIs do each of them have?
Well,
everything else equal.
Everything else is equal.
Same speed, same base runner, same fielder, same position, same arm.
So I definitely take the guy who hits 350 instantly.
What?
Obviously, because you're telling me everyone else is equal. Definitely. If they're going to drive in the same amount of runs, there's nothing wrong with having the guy that's hitting 350. He could hit leadoff. He could hit eighth. If he's going to hit singles, he's going to get on base. He's going to do his job. If he's a decent fielder, I don't need somebody who's going to hit nothing but moonshots or strike out and hit 240. This is not what I need. It also depends on roles. Who's hitting behind him? Who's hitting in front of him? You have to take all these things into consideration.
So the guy who hits 350 would probably end up with like an 820 OPS. The guy who hits 240 would probably end up with like a 9 with like an 880 OPS.
Where do you get that from?
Because like say the on base percentage, the slugging percentage isn't going to be much higher than the batting average, because that's how slugging percentage works. It
Of
takes
course, yeah.
it's you know how slugging percentage works? So I don't know.
Yes, anything but singles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if most of his hits are singles, his batting average is going to be roughly the same as his slugging. So if he's hitting 350, let's just say his slugging is 400. Now his on base will be a little higher because of walks. So say his on base is 370.
Yeah.
That means at most his OPS would be 800. Versus the guy who hits 240, say he gets the same amount of walks, a similar on base percentage of maybe a little less, or say it's that differential. So instead of it being like 350 to 400, or it's like 250 to 300. So he's got like a 300 OPS, but his slugging would be close to 550. So that would be almost 900.
Okay.
If over half of his hits are extra base hits,
Yeah.
because that's 70 extra base hits. Say he gets 150 hits a year, that's almost double. And then the home runs plus the doubles, his slugging percentage would be over double what his batting average would be.
So what you're saying is, what you guys are saying, it's crazy for me to pick one guy over the other because of .80 on an OPS is going to make him
That's a lot.
a
That's a
much
lot.
better player overall.
80 points on OPS is a lot.
You guys said everything else equal. RBI. Look at somebody like Orlando Cabrera. Does that name ring a bell? Orlando Cabrera.
I know who that is.
I think he had 9 home runs one year and he drove in 90 runs. You don't see that nowadays. If I could get somebody on my team that could do that, is not swinging for the fences every time he comes up to bat, significantly, his strikeouts are going to be significantly lower. And is there a stat that shows you how often you get your job done in a case of no outs, runner on second, you hit a ground ball to first?
I'd say probably OPS plus.
Ground ball.
Listen, okay.
No outs, runner on second,
what?
you hit a ground ball to first? Or a sacrifice bunt? Or something like that?
OPS plus kind of like just considers the fact like how much more like productive a player is all around, literally everything. Okay.
No, well, ballpark.
Well, OPS plus is just OPS adjusted to that era and what ballpark he plays in.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
OPS plus was probably the closest thing that you can actually do for that. So the guy with the home runs and stuff like that will, probably have a better OPS plus.
No.
If he has a higher OPS, he has a higher OPS plus.
Yes. So my team is going to go further with a guy who's hitting 240, 40 doubles, 30 home runs, and 100 RBIs compared to somebody hitting 350.
Statistically, yes.
To 350, 2 home runs, 15 doubles, and 100 RBIs. Going to go further with the first guy with the yes.
Statistically, yes.
But like I said, still, you don't take into consideration all the time that this guy's getting his job done, but the other guy isn't.
Okay, let me put it this way. If you fill a team, okay, with a DH and everything, a team full of your guy versus a team full of our guy, okay, and you have the same equal pitchers for both teams, okay, same equal pitchers, both teams. Everybody's equally defensively. Everybody's equally. There will be no errors, okay. All right. Yeah. So if a play will be made, if a play needs to be made, a play will be made. Everything like that. All right. If it shows that, I don't know if you guys know, but MLB could do this now. Like they could show like how much statistically of a catch you'd like be able to make. Like that catch had like a 60%, catch.
Expected batting average. Expected batting average, right?
No. That's different. That's it. I'm talking about for a fielder. If a fielder has like a 60% chance of making this play.
Yes, of course. Like yeah. Okay?
So if a player has like above a 95% chance of making the play, he'll make the play. Okay?
Okay.
But like if he only has like below like You know, like or like a certain threshold. Like everything's equal. Like he won't make the play. All right, so everything's equal. Like for the threshold for fielding and pitching, but then you fill the team up with 9 of those guys, 9 of these guys. Statistically, the guy who does not bat the 330 and does what he does, like the 40 doubles, 30 home runs, statistically will be better than the 30 batting average guy.
In what sense? In what sense? What do you mean statistically? What are you talking about? They're driving in the same amount of runs.
Okay, but I mean, listen, if you're talking, all right, I'm talking about these like main stats. Okay, I'll even throw in strikeouts like that. Okay.
Yeah, but there are a lot of fallacies. There are a lot of fallacies in what you're saying because you're saying disregard fielding, disregard this. They're all equal, this and that. That's just not how it works. Because different teams, different guys have different roles, and it's just not logical for me to just choose for one guy. Obviously, everyone watching this is gonna say, I'd rather have a guy who's gonna hit 40 home runs.
Actually, Vinny, let's go back to this for a second. If you want a guy who primarily hits singles but does it more often than somebody who doesn't but gets on base more, just think about it. Just think about numbers in like this sense. If you're hitting 300 but all you get is singles, you will never score runs because you're only going to get a hit 3 out of 10 times, but you're only going to get one base every time. So you would have to get 4 singles in a row without getting 3 outs to get a hit, to get a run.
That's why I said it depends who's hitting behind you. Can you steal bases? Who's hitting in front of you? Are you going to drive them in? What is your role?
But that's what I'm saying. But here's the thing. For a guy who hits singles, you need all of those other factors to get runs up on the board for your team. Versus if you have a guy who hits doubles and home runs, but gets on base less, more runs will be created in the long run because doubles and home runs lead to more runs than singles in a row.
Okay.
To score runs off of singles are very hard because even a 300 batting average is not statistically going to get you 3 hits to get a run in if you can only get 3 outs to end an inning.
Okay, I understand.
Versus a guy who hits doubles over time, then you only need a double and then one other guy to drive him in however how.
I know. But
if there's a guy on base, a double will score him. So the guy who gets doubles less often than the guy who gets singles more often will lead to more runs statistically if you just work out the numbers 1,000 times over.
But your 240 man is still getting on base way less. So he's going to be hitting the doubles and the home runs way less than the other guy is going to be hitting his singles.
Listen,
so in the end, doesn't it even out?
No.
Listen,
if you can give me 2 players and show me their weighted runs created plus, that's fine. Even if you prove me wrong, I'm still going to stand by what I said. I would rather have somebody with the 350 batting average on my team than somebody who's going to hit 220 or 230 and hit 40 home runs and strike out 200 times.
All right, Vinny, let me just say this, Vinny. This is why you will never be a manager in baseball.
Or a GM.
Or even in any type of department that looks at anybody.
But why? One, I don't want
because the new age analytics department.
But look at winning teams.
Yeah, look at winning teams.
But now there's also we're in a different era of baseball. I'm not in the 2022 era of baseball. I don't like what is happening with baseball now. You can't.
But you got to look at it this way though. If every single analytics department of every single MLB team is saying this is how you score the most runs over the season, forget about getting on base, forget about getting singles, forget about stealing bases. The one home run every so often will lead to more runs than singles over and over again, because in order to get singles over and over again, you would need an over 500 batting average for it to statistically work out. So even if a guy hits 300 and steals a ton of bases, singles over and over again are hard to repeat because 3 out of 10 is still not good in terms of collectively over and over again. Versus the guy who hits the home runs and the doubles every so often leads to more runs.
I understand that, but that's where your fallacies come in because you are not giving me the opportunity to say that guys have different roles. Who's hitting in front of them? Who's hitting behind them? What is their role? How are they defensively? And taking everything else in consideration. Oh, their RBIs are equal. You're not giving me the opportunity. You're trying to back me into a corner, and your argument has fallacies. It's just not right. It doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying?
Because these kind of role players don't have the same kind of role that they used to. Like, I'm not saying having a leadoff guy who steals bases and gets on base is bad, but there's a reason people that used to be 3 and 4 hitters are now 2 hitters, because you want the home run guys to get them as many at bats as possible. So that's why Aaron Judge hits second and not fourth. 40 years ago, he'd be hitting fourth.
Aaron Judge should bat 3, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say so too. But I'm saying you want. It used to be your best hitter was 3 or 4. Now it's 2, because you want him to get as many at bats as possible.
Yeah, you don't want to throw him in the number 1 slot for Vinny's exact reason, because he doesn't get on base a lot. But in the long run, if you have Aaron Judge batting number 2, it will statistically
he'll get more at bats.
Yes. So what's wrong with having both of those types of players on your team?
No, there's nothing wrong with it. But what we're saying,
you're trying to get me to pick. You're trying to get me to say that the guy who goes 240 and hits 10,000 home runs every season is much better than the guy who hits 350 and hits 2 home runs. That's what you want me to say.
Yes.
Well, he is. He's a lot.
But that doesn't matter if I'm telling you that having both of those guys on your team is
no, but what we're trying to get,
best possible bet.
No, what we're trying to get is we're trying to make you realize why this player is better than that player. Like
it's not about being better.
Listen, me and Andrew both agree with you that having both of them is okay. We both, almost every single team in the major leagues has those types of players.
Yes.
The Red Sox, they have JD Martinez, and then they have Alex Verdugo, who would bat number 1 or 2 most of the time. Xander Bogaerts is like Aaron Judge, except like not as good of a hitter. Xander Bogaerts bats number 2. He's that Aaron Judge, practically. JD Martinez will bat number 3. Okay?
He's like our Stanton.
Yeah. And then Verdugo typically bats number 1. When he had his little like disappointness in 2021, like they moved him to the number 7 slot because he just wasn't being as productive offensively. But when he was originally being like productive, he was batting number 1. So, and then the Mets, number 1, Nimmo, number 2, Lindor, number 3, Alonso, number 4. Like, you see how every single team kind of has like those players. They do.
Yes, they do.
Listen, what we're trying to say is, let's say you have 9 players on each side, 1 filled with this side, 1 filled with that side. Statistically, the ones that don't bat the 330 will win the game.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. That makes perfect sense, obviously.
So that side's better. Those players are better.
Not necessarily. No. Not necessarily.
If they win the game, if they win the game, statistically, they will win the game probably 8 out of 10 times. Okay? I'll give you 2. I'll give you 2. And I'm being generous by giving you 2.
You're not taking things into consideration, bro. You're not. You're not taking things into consideration. Because you're telling me Giancarlo Stanton is going to play shortstop. That's pretty much what you're saying.
That's not what we're saying.
That's what he's saying. He's saying Giancarlo Stanton is going to play shortstop and Fernando Tatis is going to be the catcher. Because everyone is the same. You're not taking that into consideration. Absolutely not.
That's not what we're saying.
There's so much
That's
more
not what
than
we're
what
saying.
You're trying to make it seem like a Giancarlo Stanton can play all 9 positions and do everything, and then there's going to be a whole
let me put it this way. I got it. I could put it exactly this way. I could change it. Ready?
I don't want you to change it. I don't want you to go on.
I could change it. No, because you said Giancarlo Stanton. You're saying Giancarlo Stanton, so you're cherry picking. Why don't you choose an actual shortstop? Carlos Correa. He batted 248, but how many home runs did he have? How many doubles did he have this year? He was statistically better than Brandon Nimmo this year.
I understand. I understand that completely. That's a very good point. And that's fine. That's fine. Carlos Correa is one of the best players in baseball. That's perfectly fine. So you're saying that an entire team of Carlos Correas is going to
I'm not saying, listen. You take the, how about this one, okay? You take the best player for batting average wise at each position, okay?
Yes.
Anybody.
Versus the best OPS guy at every position.
And the better OPS guy side will win 8 times out of 10. And I'm giving you 2
Yeah.
of them being generously. I
Okay,
can
I
say
understand what you're saying. Yeah, that's fine. But still, you have to take everything into consideration if you want to talk
just
to me
did.
about team. If you want to talk to me about team, you have to take everything into
We
consideration.
just did.
But you have to take everything into consideration with defense as well.
Is Correa not a good defender?
He won the Platinum Glove.
I know he's a great defender. That's not what I'm saying. But you're never gonna come across a team. You're never ever in your life gonna come across a team where you have 9 Carlos Correas, 9 John Carlos Stantons. You're never gonna come across a team like that. I personally prefer and get more entertained by watching guys like Brandon Nimmo or Starling Marte or Juan Pierre, guys like that, or Adam Frazier. I personally am more entertained by these guys. That's what I like to see in baseball. That's me personally. And I'm saying some of these guys are, of course, just as valuable as a guy who's striking out 200 times and hitting 230 and hitting 40.
They're less valuable.
They're
No,
very
they're just as valuable.
They're less
Because they
valuable.
have different roles, and they're just as valuable. It is almost 2 o'clock in the morning, and I will no longer be patronized by either of you.
No, he just doesn't want to continue to lose this.
No, I'm not losing this because you're not taking into consideration what I'm saying.
But we did.
No,
Yes, we did.
no, you didn't. You didn't.
Listen, we first agreed with you that having both of them is good for the team. We both agreed with that, okay? And then we gave you okay, let's talk about consideration. You're not going to have 9 John Carlos Stantons on the team. Okay, that's fine. So then you take Carlos Correa, okay? You put him there. You take Matt Olson. You put him there. You take Jose Altuve. You put him there. You take all these players. You take Manny Machado, put him, or not even Manny Machado, Jose Ramirez, you put him there. I gave you a person who is better at offense and less better at defense than Manny Machado, okay? So you put him there. Tyler O'Neill, you throw him in left field. Mike Trout, you throw him in center field, okay? Right field, Aaron Judge. DH, John Carlos Stanton, okay? You have all these things. Catcher, I don't even... who's a good OPS catcher? I don't even really know that much. Like, you know what? Buster Posey. We'll take Buster Posey just because of how good he was. Okay?
Yeah.
Buster Posey. All right? And you throw him in a field. Name off nine people that can... who bat.
So, do you want me to go down the best player by batting average at each position right now?
No, I don't want you to do that. Okay. I don't want any of you
doesn't want to lose.
That. It's so annoying.
We're giving you
because what I'm saying is that on my team, I want a leadoff man who's going to hit singles and steal bases. I want a 2-hitter who is a power hitter and can get on base and is all around good. I want a 3-hitter who is strong and is going to hit doubles and home runs, and a cleanup hitter that's going to do the same, and so on and so on and so on. That's what I want.
What do you want out of your number 9 hitter? What do you want out of your number 9 hitter?
I want him to do anything as long as he produces.
Okay. All right. So in the number 9 slot, would you rather have somebody batting .330 or somebody who is our guy in the number 9?
As long as they produce.
Who would you rather have, though?
Either, as long as they produce.
No. No, like it came down to your life. Like you had to choose your life. Like if they didn't win this game, you're dead. Who are you choosing?
Well, if I say the 330 guy, you're all gonna go, oh. But if I say
because it's insane.
But if I say the 240
because
guy,
he might hit a single at one. Like this is why we say that though, because our guy might go 0 for 4, but your guy at best is going to go 2 for 4 with 2 singles and probably not score anyway and not drive anyone in anyway. Versus our guy, he might hit a home run, and then that's a run or 2 runs that can lead to the game victory. So he'll get on base less, but he'll get more runs in and produce more runs for the team because extra base hits are much more of a factor than getting singles and walks more often.
I don't want a team full of just Juan Pierre's. I don't want a team full of just John Carlos.
Let me ask you this question.
I don't want either.
This is the last question, and then we're good. Okay.
But I just personally prefer watching guys.
Okay.
Like Juan Pierre, as opposed to watching a bum
All right,
or
Andrew,
Giancarlo
you're gonna
Stanton.
like this one. Andrew, you're gonna like this one. I promise. You're gonna love this one. Okay, Vinny, would you rather have 2017 Aaron Judge or 2017 Jose Altuve?
2017. Jose Altuve because he won the MVP and the World Series. Absolutely. And his batting average was so much higher than Judge's. Not even fun.
Wait. So here's the thing. Like Juan Pierre, like he's a guy. Juan Pierre's a guy I kind of forgot about. His career OPS was 704.
Legend.
That's
Okay.
And he's a guy you've probably mentioned like 20 times on this podcast.
Okay.
Oh my
And
god.
That is
He is-
a tremendous atrocity.
He is in top 20 in stolen bases all time, and he played 14 years. He played baseball for 14 years. He's in what, top 15 or top 20 all time?
So he stole bases, but he barely ever got on base and he barely produced runs.
That's not true.
Yes, it
He had
is.
a 300 batting average.
How many runs did he? Check out how many runs did he have? Okay.
But
And
his
then
role,
Wait,
his role,
his
was
career
being on base.
RBIs.
His role,
His
was
career
not RBIs.
RBIs was
Not RBIs. How many runs did he have? Okay. No, you know what? Yeah. How many RBIs did he have? And then add them to how many runs he's had.
It
Okay.
depends on what teams
So-
he played on. You have to take into consideration what teams he played on.
517 RBIs his entire career. That's 42 out of 162 a year. He averaged 42 RBIs a year.
Okay. Now, how many runs did he have? And then just add them.
1,075
Okay. So
plus 517. That's 1,592.
okay. So over 162. Do 162 divided by that.
Yeah.
How many is that? How many?
9.8. That can't be right. Yeah. Wait.
9.8. So it's probably 98
Wait.
RBIs.
Fif-
That's probably 98 runs in total created, like whether RBIs or him.
No. Wait. Let me try that
A
again.
year?
It was 1,592 divided by 1,592 divided by 100. That's his total runs plus divided by one. That's getting me 9.8. Something's not right with that though.
No. Divide his total runs by the years.
Oh no, by how many
he
years he played? By how
played.
many years he played? Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah.
14.
162.
So it's 114.
So 114.
114. So he scored
Yeah.
114 runs a year.
And guess what? How many of those were off of home runs?
So he scored 115 runs.
Okay. All right. We'll give him
Yeah.
that. Okay.
That's
114.
phenomenal.
114 runs.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
not phenomenal.
Let me ask.
For a year? Every year? That's
Yeah, the
phenomenal.
combination of run. That's 70 home runs. 70 runs, and that's like not even 60 RBIs and 60 runs scored.
Okay. Let me just go down the list.
No, Andrew.
What
There's
was it?
something wrong
100?
about
Wait,
what
it was
you
114, right?
Andrew.
Yeah.
Okay. He wouldn't even rank in the top 500 for people who had RBIs. Okay.
But he did his job. He did his job.
Did he, though?
He was the type of player who hit singles and stole bases. He could pinch run.
Which
and
doesn't-
steal bases. He was a threat.
Which,
on
as we-
speed. He was a decent
which-
fielder. Go ahead.
But it's not that productive in the long run. It sounds good on paper, but it really doesn't lead to that much production.
Yeah,
It doesn't get the, even though he got his job done, but his job doesn't get the job done.
Let me check out All right. So the most ever RBIs in a year. Guess how much it was?
Probably 200.
191. Very close. Okay. Let me check out that guy's year. RBIs 191.
Who was that?
Hack Wilson. Okay. So he was a combination of all. Okay. He was a combination of all. He had 208 hits. He batted 356, 454 on base percentage, slugging 723. OPS was 1,177. So his OPS plus was 177. Okay.
What year? 18.
It was 1930.
Fair. Okay.
So you know what? If we don't even want to get a guy that low, let's just go with a guy. Let me go with the most recent, most RBI one, and that would
It's
be
just so funny how you guys like are trying to prove a point to me, but it's never gonna get proven.
2017.
I'm never gonna sit here and say you guys were right. I'm never gonna sit here and say you're right. I shouldn't prefer and be entertained more by one guy as opposed to the other guy. That's not gonna happen. I would love to have a team of Juan Pierre hitting first and John
I would
Carlos.
never want Juan Pierre on my team under any role. I would never want him on my team.
Who's your ideal leadoff hitter then?
I mean, I don't really care about batting average that much, but maybe somebody who can, like a 400 on base guy. I like on base percentage. I think it's a good stat.
Yeah.
Like who?
400 on base.
So what about somebody like Brandon Nimmo? He can hit home runs. He doesn't hit them often.
Oh, I like Brandon Nimmo. I don't think he's bad. I think he's bad defensively.
I think he's pushing 400.
I think he's pretty bad defensively, but
no, I think Brandon Nimmo is a solid leadoff guy. He's a career OPS of 840. That's good.
Yeah.
I look at OPS. I think OPS is the one stat for me that kind of says it all.
Brandon Nimmo is very good. He's a very good baseball player, and he's going to be even better in 2022 because he doesn't have to play center field. He could play. He could play corner outfield slot. So
would you like Brandon Nimmo number 1 on your team and John Carlos Stanton hitting third? Do you think you'd have a good?
I would say
yes. I'd love that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Just not, but like you're trying to say like him and Juan Pierre or you're trying to say Juan Pierre and Nimmo are very similar in the way that you would like them both as your
The reason I brought up Juan Pierre because he's a career 300 hitter and he got on base in unorthodox ways like bunting. He was possibly the greatest bunter of all time, and he stole bases.
I still wouldn't want him on my team.
Yeah.
That's fine because you'd probably have somebody like John Carlos Stanton hitting leadoff then.
No. I would have someone like Nimmo hitting leadoff.
Brandon Nimmo, who was better than Juan Pierre, but
Nimmo's still in the same category as Juan Pierre.
No,
he's not. No, he's not.
But he is. When it comes to his style of play, he's a leadoff hitter. He can run.
No, just because he's a leadoff hitter and he can run doesn't mean that he's the same exact fundamentally based player.
No, but he's in the same category. We're talking two categories. The higher average,
last year,
lower home run, lower RBI guy. The higher average, lower home run and RBI guy, the higher average, lower home run guy, or the lower average, higher home run guy. That's the two categories we're talking about. Juan Pierre and Brandon Nimmo fall into one, and John Carlos Stanton falls into the other.
Okay, but you're going based on your exact logic, okay? Talking about the leadoff hitter and then the number 3 hitter. We already agreed with you that we are okay with that. We already agreed that Brandon Nimmo's good. Juan Pierre is not as good as Nimmo, okay? You could say, listen, you could say whatever you want, like, all right, their style play might be similar, okay? You could say that. Go right ahead, okay? But if you think putting Juan Pierre on a team that already has Brandon Nimmo and just replacing Nimmo with Juan Pierre,
that team becomes much worse.
Benefit your team. Listen, the Mets are bad now. They'd be even worse. They'd be a lot worse. Juan Pierre, no. Brandon Nimmo, yes. Batting average, no. OPS, yes.
No, you guys are scrubs. You guys are such scrubs.
How to bunt, Andrew? How do you bunt?
What do you mean?
How do you bunt?
Oh, you hit a dinger.
Yeah, thank you. Don't bunt.
You guys are such nerds. You guys are so boring. Baseball is so boring because of guys like you.
Listen, seriously, I'm not joking. I'm not joking. That's going to be your wedding gift.
If you get me that shit, I'm kicking you out. You're not allowed.
How
You're
can you
not
kick
allowed.
out one of the best mans?
You're not allowed at my wedding. If you come up to me with
It's all right. I'll just give you a Chick-fil-A gift card then.
I'll take it.
My dad made Chick-fil-A chicken today. It's pretty good.
How do you do that?
He just cooked it like how Chick-fil-A cooks their chicken without like breadcrumbs, and they just use like a flour-based material, and then he just used Chick-fil-A sauce. It was easy. It was really good too. Anyway, guys. All
I
right.
love
Listen,
I thought you meant like he bought like a Chick-fil-A fryer.
no, that would be pretty funny though. All right, listen, guys. I'm gonna wrap it up now. All right, it's 2 a.m. I said, "Wow, it was 1 a.m. an hour ago," and we just kept talking about how shitty batting average is. So, listen.
How much better Juan Pierre is than Giancarlo Stanton? You mean?
Never. That'll never be a thing. Anyway, listen, guys. I appreciate you guys joining me. I love having both of you. This podcast is definitely a lot more fun with both of you guys. I have not known you guys for that long, but seriously, doing this podcast with you both is really a fun thing to do. I've never had this much fun talking to people online than I have right now. All right.
Yeah, thank you. I agree.
No problem. I really do. I really
Love
do
being on
appreciate. I really do appreciate you guys, joining me with this podcast, and that's pretty much all I got to say. I mean, another, congratulations to Vinny, and I can't wait for the wedding. Hopefully, I am invited.
You are.
All right. I
I'm
can't,
watching. Thank you.
seriously, can't wait. And once again, congratulations. Tell, your soon-to-be wife, congratulations too.
Thank you. Thank you both very much, my friends. All right. You guys have a great night, and I'll see you on here very soon.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Anybody else got anything else to say?
Juan Pierre for Hall of Fame.
Never that. Never that.
Top 20 Hall steals all time.
Is he on your Mount Rushmore of hitters?
Yes.
Yes.
Juan Pierre, Ichiro Suzuki, Willie Tavares, and
I'd rather Ichiro over Juan Pierre. So
Juan Pierre,
Oh, yeah.
Willie Tavares, Ichiro Suzuki, and let me think of one more.
I'm gonna say Billy Hamilton.
Tim Castro. Yes, Tim Castro. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's enough. That's enough laughter for the night. You're gonna kill me. They say laughter is the best medicine, but this is just gonna kill me.
That was a funny one.
All right. Good night, guys.
You guys have a
See you.
great night.